Hey everyone, Samia Khan here with your Fox 10 News Now update. Hope you are having a wonderful Friday afternoon. Those of you who are at work, just a couple more hours to go before you kick off your 3-day weekend, assuming you don't have to work Labor Day. I, however, am working Labor Day, so I'll be joining you guys all day Monday. You guys can hang out with me then for more news now. I hope you're having a lovely day. We have a lot ahead this afternoon. Lots of things to talk about. Plus, I've come up with my own branded segment. Well, another branded segment. You guys know how I do Tech Talk with Jeff? How's this? Trump Talk with Kraft. I'm really into this idea. I told Steve about it, and he's going to join me for the first ever Trump Talk with Kraft at 3 o'clock. So very exciting, guys. But we have a lot of news ahead. I first want to give you guys an update on that shooting that we told you about just a few hours ago. We learned about it live here on News Now. We took you there to 17th Street in Highland. We brought you aerials courtesy of Skyfox. I'm going to play some of those videos, or some of that video rather, for you guys now so you can see exactly where. Let me just lower the volume. You guys can see this is the location of that shooting that we're talking about. So it was a double shooting. Two people found fatally shot inside this parking structure, 17th Street in Highland. In terms of new information we are getting now, I guess we're basically kicking off the show with the death hour, but both individuals fatally shot. They were pronounced dead at the scene. Those two individuals were found inside a car, and the gun was found inside the vehicle. So although officials have not confirmed it, from what it appears, it looks like it was a murder-suicide, though we don't have any confirmation of that. And once we get more information from police, we will let you guys know. I know that Andrew has been assigned to the story, so hopefully we'll get an update from him, or worst case scenario, we will find out on the 5 o'clock news this evening what is going on with that story. So again, this is an aerial look at the location of the crime scene, 17th Street in Highland. It's an office building complex. Again, Skyfox was over this scene a few hours ago. And that's all we know so far right now. Meanwhile, Tempe police have given us this flyer. They're looking for this guy who has been assaulting women. I guess he struck again. I'm going to pull up this image right now so you guys can see who I'm talking about. Maybe if you see this guy, maybe if this guy looks familiar, you guys can help us out. You can help the Tempe police out. Let me just get this open for you guys. And there we go. This is the guy that Tempe police are looking for. This individual, he apparently approaches the woman from behind, grabs her butt, and digitally... Oh, this is very awkward. But I guess I will try to communicate this as best as I can, or I can just make the text larger and you guys can read it yourself so I don't feel very awkward reading this. Again, so this guy is wanted for sex assaults. This media release was sent this past July. This guy was never found, and now there were about 3 recent sexual assault incidents, which may be linked to the same guy right here, this guy. So this is his characteristic method of attack. You guys can read that right there. We'll leave that up on the screen for just a second. Suspect approaches the female from behind, grabs her butt, uses his hands to do things. In one of the cases, the victim was tackled to the ground. The victims fought the attacker. Unfortunately, none were seriously injured. The incidents occurred the first incident was May 17th, second incident was June 28th, and the third incident was August 29th. So initially they were looking for this guy this past July because of those first 2 incidents. Now that this individual may have struck again, they're looking for the same suspect who was never caught. He is described as a Hispanic male between 21 and 24 years old. He is described as 5'6" to 5'8", with a round face, clean-shaven, brown hair, brown eyes. In one of the incidents, The suspect wore a black V-neck t-shirt, dark colored jeans, and a black baseball cap with a white logo. Okay, that seems like a common outfit. And in one of the incidents, the suspect fled on a black BMX bicycle. Tempe police want to make sure that anyone walking or driving secures and locks their doors, windows, gates, garages, and vehicles, and that they're observant and aware of their surroundings, whether it's daytime or nighttime, especially when walking alone. So yes, Tempe police looking for this guy right here. This is a neighborhood alert update. And if anyone knows anything, call Tempe Police or Silent Witness at 480-WITNESS. Meanwhile, those are some local headlines. In terms of national headlines, the biggest two talkers coming from across the country, first of all, is Kentucky. As you know, there was a lot of controversy behind this Kentucky clerk, Kim Davis, who refused to issue same-sex marriage licenses. Well, today, same-sex marriage licenses were issued once again. I'm going to go ahead and play this story for you so you guys get a quick update in case you missed it the first time around. I'll be back with you guys in just a second.
Same-sex couples are once again being issued in Rowan County, Kentucky. Surrounded by cameras, William Smith Jr. and James Yates received their paperwork shortly after the county clerk's office opened. The deputy clerk issued the license, congratulating the couple of nearly 10 years before they received cheers and a hug from Mom.
This means,
I would rather not say.
at least for this area,
What is the
civil rights are civil rights, and they're not
I think
subject to belief.
Demonstrators supporting same-sex marriage and religious groups who uphold traditional definitions of marriage converged once again on the courthouse. County Clerk Kim Davis, a Christian whose refusal to issue the licenses on religious grounds defied both a Supreme Court ruling and an order from a federal judge, was jailed Thursday on a contempt citation. Davis turned down a deal that would have led to her release, under which her deputies could issue the licenses. Her husband Joe held a sign at her office reading, "Welcome to Sodom and Gomorrah." He said his wife will not resign and criticized the judge's decision.
I would defy him. I defy our government. We have no government in the United States no more.
The White House has even weighed in, with a spokesman for President Obama saying no public official is above the law. That despite the fact that the president himself has declined to enforce selected laws over the years. Now the refusal of an Oregon judge to marry same-sex couples could spark a similar legal showdown in the Beaver State. In Washington, James Rosen, Fox News.
All right, guys, so those are just a few of our headlines. The other headline that we'll get to in a few minutes is Donald Trump. Lots of controversy, people questioning whether he even knows about foreign policy or anything based on a recent interview. I'll be talking with Steve Kraft about that in about 20 minutes. But in the meantime, joining me, Michelle, you are back.
I'm back.
Do you guys remember when we had Michelle on? Last time we were talking about gas prices and Iran and how it would affect everything. We're here to talk about a completely different topic, specifically Labor Day travel. I was hearing some crazy statistics that you guys had issued. You guys as in AAA. Right. You people.
So yeah, we're expecting a lot of people to travel for Labor Day. Just in Arizona alone, we're looking at 1.4 million people taking a trip of 50 or more miles from home. So if you're heading out of town later this evening or tomorrow, you're not going to be alone. There's going to be lots of people out there on the road because about 80% of people traveling will be going by car. The rest will be going by plane. So
Right.
You won't be alone traveling. It's going to be pretty busy out there.
So this is my question because, holiday weekends are usually chaotic, especially when you're leaving. At least from personal experience, I find that leaving Friday after work is the most congested and coming back Monday afternoon is the most congested.
Yes.
Is that right?
Absolutely, because people get off work and then they leave as soon as they get off of work. And so you're going to be not only facing rush hour of people who aren't going out of town, but people who are going out of town as well. So leaving right after work is going to be the busiest time to leave. Probably the best time to have left would have been this morning or even late yesterday.
Or even, what about early tomorrow morning?
Early tomorrow, you'll probably be a little bit better off. Or if you have to leave today because of hotel reservations or what have you, give it a couple of hours tonight, let rush hour pass, and then leave. And you'll beat some traffic that way, but we usually hear reports of traffic, especially heading up north and things like that, well into the evening of the Friday leading into Labor Day weekend.
Right.
So,
While Michelle and I chat, guys, feel free to comment in the chat room. Let us know if you're doing any Labor Day travel
Yeah.
this weekend. I'd love to know where you guys are going. So within the state of Arizona, there's so many great weekend getaways, right? You mentioned traveling up north. I would imagine that Flagstaff is fully booked and things like that. Is Interstate 17 going to be a problem? And what's your take?
right, so it really just depends, because if there aren't any crashes, anything like that, then we could still see some congestion just because of the sheer volume of people traveling.
Right.
However, if there is a collision or anything like that, then that just
Makes
that's a
everything
whole
worse.
different ball game, right? We're looking at a whole different ball game. So, the best thing is to make sure that you pack your patience. Don't expect to get there in the same time that you would on any other weekend, because this is just a whole different ball game, because it's a holiday weekend.
Right.
And then, no matter where you're going, so if you're going to Tucson, if you're going to Flagstaff, wherever you go, you're not going to be alone. So keep
Right.
that in mind. And then just also, you want to make sure that you're considerate of other drivers. Know that if you break down on the side of the road, for example, you would want people to slow down and move over like you're supposed to. It's
Right.
a law here in Arizona.
Right.
So you would want that same consideration. So you want to give that consideration to other motorists as well.
So let's repeat this law for a second. If I have my vehicle's broken down, I'm on the side of the road. It's the passerby is encouraged to switch over to the left lane,
Right.
so as to not bother me
Right.
as
So
I
that-
try to fix my vehicle.
Yes, or AAA fixes your vehicle.
Right,
So we
exactly.
want to give you.
I wouldn't. I don't know how to change a tire.
So you would call us, and we would want to make sure that you have that safe space. So Arizona has a move over law, and that law requires all motorists to slow down or move over if you're able to. If you're able to
Right.
make that safe lane change for any motorist, so that's stranded motorists, tow truck drivers, emergency personnel, on a freeway or divided highway if you're stranded on the side of the road. So if you have a blown tire on the 17 and you're on the side of the road, by Arizona law, other drivers are required to move over, and if they can't move over, they're required to slow down. So that's Arizona's move over law. Most people are familiar with it because they have to do that when they're approaching, say, a police officer that's pulled someone over.
Right.
But they need to remember that that law applies to all stranded motorists when you have your flashing lights displaying.
See, and that's the thing. I did not know about this law. I recently, because I've been here now 10 months, I've noticed other people do it. And so I just noticed, I'm like, oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
And I'm learning now that it's an official law.
It is an official law, and it's actually one that AAA lobbied for several years ago, because we have about 1,200, our tow truck drivers respond to about 1,200 calls across the state every single day.
Right.
And so we want those tow truck drivers to get home safely to their family each evening. And so it's one of the reasons why, as an advocacy organization, we lobbied for that law, because not only do we want our tow truck drivers to be safe because they're our employees, but we want our members to be safe as well. And
Right.
it can be pretty scary if you've ever been stranded on the side of the road and cars are going by you at
So fast.
70, and 70 is probably considered slow, right? You're
Wow.
looking at 70, 75, 80 miles an hour. It can be really scary. So make sure that you extend that courtesy to people out there, because not only is it the right thing to do, but it's the law and you could be cited for it.
I know now.
You know now. And now everyone else does too. So
right.
it's great.
Right. I want to acknowledge Cha-Cha Rum. I live in Vegas, so I don't have to go anywhere. Well, that's another thing. I bet so many people from Phoenix, from Arizona, are going to Vegas this weekend, right?
Yes, Vegas is huge. So the top destination for Arizona travelers, San Diego. Not a huge surprise there.
Really?
It's really the biggest destination for Arizonans year round.
I didn't know that.
There's so many attractions. There's the beach. It's a short drive. And Vegas
And
is...
how short is San Diego?
you're
A drive?
looking
Is it 5.5? I assume it's the same distance as LA, 5.5 hours.
about 5.5, 6
Yeah.
hours. And of course, today could be a little bit longer
Yeah, that's
depending
true.
on when you leave.
Right.
But, there's the beach and there's attractions. It's family friendly.
Sure.
So, it's a big destination
Less
for
congested
Arizona.
than Los Angeles.
A little less congested, but then Vegas is usually one of the top destinations as well. Usually it's number 2, so it fluctuates between LA and Las Vegas. Usually fluctuate as the number 2 destination for Arizonans. But again, Vegas, full of attractions, family friendly, but you can go as an adult as well and enjoy adult time, but you can also go and have a good time with your family. So,
Right.
and again, another drive destination. So that's why it's one of the top destinations for Arizonans.
Right, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Vegas is a nice 2-hour drive from your Tessa's house. I really like the drive, but Laughlin is like 15 minutes away. I go there. And the move over law, Tess says, I love this law. Tom says it's in a lot of states now.
Yeah, the majority of states have something similar.
and Kirk saying hi to you.
Hey, Clerk.
That is so great. Labor Day
Labor
is
Day.
today for my family. Apple Snapple. What does that mean? I don't know what that means. Maybe it's the day that they're traveling, or maybe you have the day off
Maybe you could have the day off and celebrate today.
on Friday. I have no days off. I'll be working this Labor Day,
Aw.
so I won't be stuck in traffic, thankfully.
Well,
Coming
thank
back
you
home.
for your service, and you won't have traffic coming to or leaving work because pretty much the roads are going to be wide open around the valley. So if you do work on Monday, at least you have that as a
totally
consolation.
sleep in an extra 20 minutes.
You can do
I
that.
can do that. Thank you. And then you have, okay, so then we've talked about destinations outside of Arizona, but within Arizona, I imagine it's Tucson, Flagstaff.
Yeah, really all over.
All over, I mean.
all over the state. So Tucson and Flagstaff are two of the big ones, especially for Phoenicians who are
Right.
heading out of town.
Right.
But then you have a lot of other really great destinations that that people may not think of as much. So Cottonwood, for example, one of my favorite places in Arizona. It's less than 2 hours away. As of Monday of this week, there was still some availability in hotel rooms. That may no longer be the case.
I'm going to look up Cottonwood
But
right
Cottonwood
now.
is awesome. So there is so much to do. So if
it's
you're
so
going,
cute.
it is. If you like wine, there's so many great wineries. In downtown Cottonwood, they have just tasting room after tasting room. Cute little restaurants. If you take your family, you can do a guided kayaking tour of the Verde River. It's also near the Verde Valley train, so you can do a train ride. It's just so much stuff to see and do. So Cottonwood's a great place. The White Mountains, a little bit further away, but the temperatures in the White Mountains will make you want to drive there in and of itself. So you're looking at highs in like the 70s.
Wow, that's true.
Compared to the hundreds, which we're still experiencing,
Well,
the
not
White Mountains
today.
are rather
Today
great.
we're actually under 100. I just want to point that out because it's a big deal.
It is a big deal. But, I mean, still, 96 compared to high of 70.
No
you really
question.
can't beat it. You can't beat it. So, Flagstaff and Tucson are popular, but there's so many other great places as well.
Where you could probably
we're
find a room,
So
too.
fortunate. And yet, a lot of even local places around the valley, local resorts, are still saying that they have availability. And this is one of the last weekends of the year to take advantage of those rock bottom rates at some of our nicest 4 and 5 diamond properties.
That's so true because then everyone comes into town once it cools down here
Yep.
and gets cold wherever they are.
And then the rates go up. And so we have to wait until next summer, but a lot of places not only just offering great room rates, but offering extra things too, like daily resort credits and admission to their pool and things like that. So
Right.
tons of deals that, again, availability is probably going to be limited at this point, but if you still need something to do last minute, there's still something out there for you.
There's an idea there. You know, another thing to point out since I have you up here, we talked about gas prices last time, but gas prices have been dropping recently,
Oh,
which I
yes.
think makes more people inclined to do some sort of road trip this holiday weekend.
Absolutely. And so if you look at gas prices and what we're paying today compared to what we paid this time last year, it's about 90 cents cheaper compared to last Labor Day. So
Wow.
that's huge. The last time gas prices were this low heading into Labor Day weekend was more than a decade ago. It was in 2004 that we were heading into this holiday with gas prices this low. So that in and of itself is huge, and no surprise why. Of the 1.4 million Arizonans traveling, 1.1 million of those will be going by car. That is still a little bit of a drop from last year, but still a very healthy auto travel number. And again, if you're traveling regionally, auto travel is going to be the most, really the most friendly way to travel in terms of budget. So
Right.
Easy to do a last minute trip, to pack your family in the car. You're not having to pay for airline tickets, baggage fees.
Plus, you have the flexibility. That's
yes.
that's the best part I think about driving is the flexibility. You're not tied to a specific departure time, arrival time, anything like that. You can kind of leisurely go, stop along the way.
Stop along the way.
Depending on where you're going, there could be some great places to stop along the way. For example, if you are going up to Flagstaff, you could go see Montezuma's Castle off of
that's-
Interstate 17.
and that's great. Yeah,
which I learned
absolutely.
about from our viewers here. They actually told me about it months and months ago, and I went in February. I thought that was really cool.
And so that's actually one of the stops is also if you're heading to Cottonwood.
All right.
So you're looking at Montezuma's Castle.
Really
and
pushing
Mount.
Cottonwood on me.
It's really one of my favorite places. There's so many great places here, but if I'm going for if I have a weekend getaway, that's one of my top places just because it is so nice and there's so much to do.
Oh, then there's Sedona. We haven't even mentioned that place. And I
Sedona's
heard
great
that's great.
too. It's going to be really popular, and so you're going to probably be paying a little bit more, and the availability is going to be be rather limited.
Lower.
But Sedona is huge, a huge destination, great hiking, and you can fit a lot of the little cities up north into, a weekend trip. So if you're
Right.
staying in Sedona, you can do Cottonwood for the day. You can even go to Flagstaff and come back, or if you're going to Flagstaff, you can go down to Sedona, do some hiking, and go back into Flagstaff. So
Right.
you have a lot of options. And again, when you take a road trip, that's one of the benefits of doing so, is that you have so much flexibility and so many options.
Right, because if you stop along the way, it's almost like 2 trips in one.
Yeah.
It's efficient. Rob saying, I am staying home this weekend. I don't like traveling around on holidays. Something to think about. Tess, I understand, Rob, and many of us are very passionate about it. I do think we need to take a look at making it work for everyone.
Hot wings.
Hot wings. Tess saying it's a beautiful 95 degrees in Mojave Valley. Huh. Well, if you want to cool down and you're here in Arizona, the solution is go north, I think.
Go north, but it's also, Tucson is usually cooler than it is here. And then I know another great, and this may be sold out, I'm not sure, but Kartchner Caverns is down south, and so that's a state park, and it's a really popular park, one of our most popular state parks.
Yeah.
But in the caverns, it gets to where the point, like, you would need to bring a jacket or something because the
Wow.
temperatures drop that much.
Wow.
But it's a really great, anyone who's been to Kartchner Caverns would recommend it and say this is something you should go to. It's great for kids. So if you go down south, there's cooler temperatures as well. And then also another place up north to mention that I know anyone who's been always recommends is Arizona.
We had a bear from Arizona sitting right here with me back in March. I was really excited.
It's supposed to be, I personally haven't been, but I have known several people who've, and every single person who goes, they say you have to go to Arizona.
Really?
So it's on my list the next time I go up north, and it's in Williams. So
Yeah.
definitely on my list. But I've heard so many great things about it.
There's so many places to road trip, I think, in Arizona. One of the things I've been doing is picking a random town and just going up for a day trip on a Saturday or Sunday. And I did it twice in the last month. I first hit Prescott,
Oh, Prescott's awesome.
and then a couple weeks ago I went to Payson for their rodeo.
Oh, that's so
Yeah,
fun. Payson's
so
great too.
I was like, I'm learning the state slowly
Yes.
but surely. And again, gas prices aren't that bad, so I don't feel bad. Especially
No.
when, like, last weekend I was in California and I'm looking at the gas prices, even filling up my rental car. I'm like, wow, this is a full $1 more than what I'm paying in Arizona.
Yes. It's, if you look at AAA's heat map of gas prices, Arizona has the cheapest gas prices on the West Coast. So, I mean, you really can't afford not to fill up and do something, whether it's this Labor Day weekend or even looking further into the fall.
Right.
A couple of other places to check out. Bisbee. Love Bisbee. Bisbee's a great place to
And we
visit.
need to show the viewers pictures.
Okay, and then Jerome. Jerome is another place. I personally have not been, but it's a popular place, and it's on my list of places to explore. And I'm a native, so I feel like I should have explored all of Arizona by now, but there's still places left on my
Oh,
list.
Bisbee looks cool. Let's show them this.
Yeah, Bisbee's great.
Is that where it's right down there?
Southeastern. So it's a arts community. There's great restaurants.
This is not. Oh, wow. Is something from Bisbee, I guess? I don't know.
I'm not sure.
I'm very confused. These are all photos from Wikipedia, the Bisbee Wikipedia page. Yeah, I guess maybe the mining
Okay.
industry. That's why we have those images. Minerals. Okay. I was like,
Okay.
what? And look at those temperatures. Average, right? About 84. I can do that.
Cooler than it is here, again, but that's going south. So oftentimes people think, you have to go north to escape the heat, and that's not necessarily true.
Right. I love this photo.
It's just like a step back in time.
Right.
So just tons to see and do, and then, great for adult getaway, but also lends itself to being a family-friendly destination too.
Right.
And that's what I love about Arizona is that so many of our destinations are so family-friendly
Right.
that you can take your family anywhere, and there's going to be something for everyone to do.
Well, you mentioned Arizona. I can only imagine that kids would love that. It's a Arizona. It's Arizona, but with a B-E in front of it. So Bearizona. Arizona, because from what my understanding of Arizona, you stay in your vehicle and kind of drive
It's
through.
a
It's like
drive-through wildlife park.
yeah, and then you just see animals all around.
Right, and I believe there's a portion where you can get out of your vehicle as well. They have like a, something like that. But not only is it a place where families and kids would love to go to, but I've had, like friends, adult friends that have just gone, by themselves, and they're like, yeah, we decided to do it, and we would totally do it again because it's that cool. So, just another place that a lot of people may not have explored, or they have explored and they would go back to. Everyone that I know that has visited Arizona said that they would definitely go back again.
Oh my God, look at the bear!
So cute. They're so little.
They're so cute. Oh my God. I think they just did a really good job with marketing on their website because, yeah, you can go see different things. I think this is a good idea. And how far? The drive to Williams is how far from downtown Phoenix?
Oh gosh, I want to say it's probably about 3 hours more or less, and I might be off on that by a little bit, but I want to say it's about three hours more or less. The one thing to keep in mind is because it's Labor Day weekend and because we're expecting more people to be out, before you go anywhere, so if you're like, oh, Arizona sounds like a good idea, we'll go, call them. Because if for some reason they sell out, and I don't even know if they sell out, but I know, for example, my family was going to go to Karchner Caverns about a year ago, and I said, you need to call because you actually need to have reservations to go. And when they called, they found out that they were actually booked for the day they wanted to go, so they had to make it for another day. And so they're like, we're really glad he told us that, because otherwise we would have been there and not been able to get in. So it's just a good idea because it's so busy. Before you drive, call to make sure that there isn't anything you need to know about, that the park's going to be open.
And then probably also check the roads ahead of time,
check the roads ahead of time, see if there's just anything you need to know.
Right. Well, Michelle, thank you for giving us this update. Any final words in terms of Labor Day travel, gas prices, final pitches? I assume that you're going to say go to Cottonwood, but
no, go somewhere, do something different, explore, be safe out there. If you see someone stuck on the side of the road, slow down and move over for them. And then, if you're staying in town and doing any type of barbecuing or celebrating locally, and really anywhere you go, make sure you celebrate responsibly. Always have a designated driver, and know that, if your designated driver falls through, that, there are programs out there that can help you get home safely. AAA has a Tipsy Toe program in Arizona, and we'll be offering that service starting at 6 p.m. on Sunday. It runs through 6 a.m. on Monday. You don't have to be a AAA member to use it, but we'll tow you, your vehicle, and up to one passenger home for free for 10 miles. Beyond that, it's a standard towing rate. But, we really want to do whatever we can and use our resources to help make Arizona roads safer. And, again, we don't want people, a couple of things with Tipsy Toe, we get people who call us and want to make a reservation for it. And it's not meant to
really
be
how
used.
it works.
Right. It's a last resort. So your designated driver falls through, you can give us a call and we can help get you home safely. But, really just be safe if you're driving. And if you're hosting a party, make sure that your guests celebrate responsibly. If you're going to a party, make sure you celebrate responsibly. We want everyone to be back safe and sound. And we want our drivers and stranded motorists, we want everyone to be safe.
Get
at the end of this weekend.
Designated driver, take the light rail, get an Uber, or if you drove yourself and got too wasted, Tipsy Toe.
Yeah, I mean, we just don't want anyone to take that risk or to put someone's life in jeopardy when there's so many different options out there to help you get home safely.
All right, Michelle, well, thanks for joining us, guys.
Thank
I'm going
you.
to walk Michelle out. In the meantime, I'm going to leave you with some of this video of Arizona, just in case you want to be inspired for where to go this Labor Day weekend. All right, guys, we are going to be having a little Trump talk with Steve Kraft in just a couple minutes. I just need to track him down in the newsroom. We were scheduled for 3 p.m. It is officially 3:01. So Steve Kraft is pulling an Obama, and by that I mean he's running a little late, but that's okay because I have some other stories I can share with you in the meantime while we wait for Steve. How about this one? Out of Florida, a woman set on fire. Oh my gosh, that's disturbing, but for some reason it's headline attention grabbing. So let's go ahead and pull this story up. I'll be back with you guys in a second.
Well, deputies are still trying to figure out how the fire started. They say they were looking for clues by the woman's condo as well as her car.
That's my black car right there, and I drove up when it was like billowing smoke.
It was just after 3 o'clock this afternoon when deputies say a woman was on fire. She suffered serious injuries.
There's a pile of smoldered, burnt clothes and sandals and a gas can over there.
According to investigators, witnesses say the victim's head and upper body were on fire as they pulled into the parking lot at the Winter Park Woods condominiums. Adam Graff saw it all unravel.
I drove up, and there was a smoldering pile on the ground. I saw a hand sticking out and realized at that point it was a body. She wasn't moving. Everything was burned up. It was terrible.
The deputies say no one saw how it started, but one of the lawn maintenance workers got a bucket of water while another resident ran to help.
One of the guys who lives here had a fire extinguisher on her. He said that she was just standing there and then she fell over, but she didn't scream or anything like that.
And the state fire marshal's office is also investigating. Valerie Boy, Fox 35 News.
Yeah, so that story was kind of very disturbing. I'm not really sure how I can transition from that. Let me see. How about this one? Another kind of interesting headline grabber. Oh my God, Steve Kraft, you're here.
Yay.
Welcome.
Hello.
This is the inaugural Trump Talk with Kraft stream.
You know, I had to put a story in the mix, so to speak. Mm-hmm. That means I had to get it
you have to do
into editing.
Your day job. You know,
Yeah,
the
a straight
real
job.
reason you hang out here in this newsroom. You're
One of
not
them.
here exclusively for News Now.
I am here just for News Now, and I just do this other thing just as a cover.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is your real passion.
By the way, left on. Right on. Left on.
So I hope you like the lower third that we got up there.
Hey, how about that?
Isn't it cool?
Wow.
I like it.
That's real
I'm really
good.
into this idea of branding Trump Talk with Kraft, so much so that as soon as I started the show, I told our viewers about it. I'm like, guess what we're going to do? We're going to do this thing called Trump Talk with Kraft.
And
the
people were freaking out?
They were so excited. Like, oh my God, Steve Kraft.
Oh my God.
I love him. SK and SK. Yay. I don't know if that's how our viewers sound, but in my mind, that's how they sound.
They all sound like Valley Girls? All of them? No.
Whatever. Just felt like that
You
was,
do a good imitation.
I just thought that was the appropriate answer right in
Whatever.
that moment. Well, you know, I did come from California. So Donald Trump.
What?
This
Well,
guy.
I've been reading, yeah.
So I read the transcript of this interview that is sort of getting headlines everywhere because Donald Trump is saying that he is getting those gotcha questions again.
Well, which might otherwise, I don't think it's a
But
gotcha
they're not
question.
gotcha
No.
questions. You can ask
No.
the average person, is this the gotcha question? And I don't consider it
Look, if
gotcha
you're running for
question.
president,
Let's
you're
pull up
supposed to
some of
know.
these.
You're supposed to know
who the players
a
are.
lot about a lot of things. You're supposed to know about foreign affairs. You're supposed to know about the economy. You're supposed to know about the healthcare system. You're supposed to know about the environment. You're supposed to know about the budget and social issues that people care about. And, you know, it can't just be your gut. You have to have a real command, or ideally, you're supposed to have a command of all the different things going on in the country.
Right, and
around the world.
You expect that from your
I
president.
mean, you're the most powerful person on earth. You better know your stuff.
Pretty bold, pretty bold. Tess is saying Trump is just a crybaby. Because the thing is, these questions weren't like crazy. If we kind of go through some of the questions,
Okay, well, maybe we'll put some of this stuff. Can we do that on the screen? Maybe not.
I'm not really sure.
All right, well, anyway, so he got tripped up on a question about the Quds forces, which
Right.
are a part of the Iranian military,
Right. He was on this program with Hugh Hewitt.
who, by the way, is going to be, believe it or not, the same guy he's been now fighting with, is going to be one of the moderators at the upcoming debate.
Oh my gosh!
In
Was
2
that
weeks, less
announced
than 2
after
weeks.
after
Or
this
just over 2
interview?
weeks. He knew who Hewitt is, a very well-known radio broadcaster and
Right.
conservative. And, of course, Donald Trump knows this guy is going to be doing the...
Oh, he knew he was doing the debate.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
sure. It's a CNN debate, and Hugh Hewitt is one of the guys who's a moderator of the debate.
Right, and he's already accusing
Along with
Hugh.
Jake Tapper of
Well,
CNN.
he's essentially accusing Hugh of being out to get him, the way that he accused Megyn Kelly of the same
Anyone
thing.
with whom he feels there's been an embarrassing encounter or moment immediately becomes his sworn enemy. That's just that's how he's wired. Like some dogs are wired, like if someone comes anywhere near the house, they start barking and they start freaking out.
Right.
He's the same way. Whenever anybody criticizes him or suggests he doesn't know something, he just goes into attack mode. And I did a vlog, for lack of a better word, a little video, just a couple of, well, actually it came out yesterday.
I'm going to pull it up.
And the point of that is that they're, in this case, Jeb Bush, but it's soon going to be a lot of Republicans, are all going to go after Donald Trump because they're now at the point where this guy threatens to take over the party unless they're able to somehow stem the tide and derail him. So this is where the battle, we've really reached a turning point in this campaign, and I think the battle's really, really on. It is on, like Donkey Kong.
Yeah, because before people were kind of like holding back. Also because I don't think most of the people in this race thought Donald Trump would be as far ahead as he is.
they
And that's
didn't at
the
all.
thing. They were like, okay, even if he had a lead for a little bit, maybe it was a fluke. Because in the beginning, the poll numbers, he wasn't in the lead.
No.
Bush was in the lead.
Yes, he was the establishment candidate, but maybe this is one of those crazy times in history where the establishment is not going to remain in power.
By the way, I love this photo so much.
Well, you'd have to see the whole story to see it in context.
Right.
Yeah. Well,
Is this it right here?
yes.
Taking on Trump. Oh, alliteration on your end as
See?
well. So I'm going to go ahead and move us out of the way. And
When Donald Trump first began his presidential campaign, lots of people in the Republican establishment treated it as a joke. But as Trump became steadily more popular, they decided maybe it would be best to just ignore him and hope he would go away. Well, that has not happened. And who's the one who's really suffering in all this? It's Jeb Bush. He has seen his poll numbers drop, and he's finally decided to fight back against Donald Trump. He put out a video accusing Trump of being a closet Democrat. Trump quickly shot back with his own video showing Jeb Bush saying nice things about Bill and Hillary Clinton. Just yesterday, in this escalating war of words, Trump said that Bush should just speak English from now on the campaign trail instead of Spanish. How's this going to play out? Is it going to benefit Bush? Is it going to benefit Trump? Or is it going to hurt both of them, so maybe some other candidate will take over the top spot in the Republican Party? I feel we've had a very fundamental shift in this campaign. What do you think? I, as always, would like to hear from you. Get in touch with me on Twitter at SCraftFox10. And, of course, on Facebook at SteveCraftFox10. You know, it's real easy to do.
that's the best part every time. Tess is chiming in on this topic saying, my brother adamantly supports Trump. He hung up on me last night. All I said is Trump was a bully and that I'd like him to take a look at Carson. And whereas Fire Freak saying, nobody in the presidential race so far has my attention. All a bunch of greedy people trying to line their already full pockets with tax dollars.
I like Tessa's comment up above, too. I don't think the Fox debate was that tough. He's just used to everyone yes-sirring him. That is true. There were no gotcha questions there. There was nothing underhanded directed his way. No attempt to trap him. And it's true, he has a long history of making sexist comments for years. So he has to understand that politics is full of, it's a rough sport. And I don't know, if that's going to be his the way he behaves, what would he do as president, dealing with the media and having news conferences and
Right.
having arguments with foreign leaders? Is he going to be going nuts all the time, fighting everybody all at once?
It's gonna be. It's gonna be.
Does he have the temperament? That's the question people are going to have to consider.
He does so far. Well, I was surprised yesterday. We broadcasted here live Donald Trump's speech after he signed this pledge, and I was surprised because he didn't say anything outlandish during this press conference. Really, nothing outlandish. And my other, I guess, question. It's a question for you. Is just because he signs a pledge doesn't mean he has to actually abide by it, right?
True. It's not legally binding. But I think it would be prohibitively expensive and difficult, and he would be kind of guaranteed that he wouldn't get enough support to win as a third-party candidate if after all of these expectations that he's going to be loyal to the Republicans, he were to bolt and try to do something else. I don't see that happening. He's enough of a business person to understand that would be throwing away money. So I think he's going to abide by this pledge, and he couldn't keep that leverage forever. He knew it was going to be a big topic in the upcoming debate. He wants to sort of nip that one in the bud.
Right, so he doesn't have to deal with it.
And, I think he's used it as much as he can. Now he has to really be a Republican.
Les Chow Mein chiming in saying the presidential race is important now is purely because of the president's ability to appoint the Supreme Court judges since they are the true rulers of the country now. What's your take on that?
Well, they're not the true rulers of the country. They're one of three co-equal branches of the government. And
that's what they teach you in school.
And I believe that. I think the president is more powerful than the Supreme Court on a day-to-day basis.
The executive branch of government?
Yes, because
not
the
judicial.
executive branch can actually make rules. For example, we're not going to go after illegal immigrants in the country. We're going to let them stay here on a deferred action basis. Well, that's a pretty momentous decision, executive decision.
Right.
Or we're going to have these new standards to improve the environment on coal-fired plants. Done. There's a lot of things that any president, and right now Barack Obama, our current president, can decree as an executive in our country. There's a lot of wiggle room and a lot of power that the president has.
Right.
On a daily basis. Now, the Supreme Court obviously has huge amounts of power as well by saying, okay, we can't have, we can't pick on people just because of the color of their skin and not let them vote. We have to integrate the schools.
Right.
You have a right to an abortion. Those are all huge decisions. If you're gay, you can get married. I mean, those are big decisions too. But on a day-to-day basis, I don't think the Supreme Court is superior in power. It's just because a lot of people in our audience are upset that the last year with the conservative court, there were a bunch of what they think are liberal decisions. Well, that's just because the conservative court couldn't agree among its majority members. There. Now
Telling
you know.
it like it is. Telling it like it is. Les Chow Mein saying, check and balance has been completely destroyed by Obama. However, I thank him for that. He exposes all of the problems our country has right now.
A lot of people are just in a really sour mood. And I think that this has a lot to do with why Donald Trump is having a very extended moment and maybe a long time beyond that. People are just mad. Everywhere I go, people are just mad. They just think that they're just getting ripped off and they're not able to achieve what they ought to and they can't make a decent living and the future is not very good for them and people are angry. I really sense that right now.
Billy Z. Cruzen, I think they want the pledge because many believe in Trump 2016.
I think Donald Trump, and this will be so interesting for me if he goes through this next debate, just tries to kind of bluster his way through it, or whether he really, actually sits down and reads a briefing book and learns some of these things, like what's the capital of Syria, or who are the forces in play. And
is the capital of Syria Damascus?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Okay, got it.
Yes.
I was like, oh,
I mean,
crap.
I would think he would know that.
You think he would?
I don't.
Know that?
Of course,
but
I would
you don't
think
know if he would know that.
I don't know what he knows. He's certainly a smart man. But how well versed he is in these international affairs versus, say, international economic things, he's probably very well versed in. But what does he know about, the different competing factions in Iran and in Lebanon?
Right. Well, we can go back to this interview he did with
Palestinians. I don't know.
Well, let's kind of break apart his interview with Hugh Hewitt. So you were mentioned. We kind of got off track, but he got confused the Kurds and the Quds forces, right?
Right.
So that was the first sort of
right.
thing that caught Donald Trump off guard. But then he caught himself by, referencing it as a misunderstanding. He misheard and then kept emphasizing his take on Kurds.
Right, and that's pretty easy because everybody knows the Kurds are our allies in this whole situation, and that they're kind of a good bulwark against expansion by some of these forces in Iraq who've been so bad.
So then here's one. So the question is, so Soleimani runs the Quds forces. Do you expect his behavior is going to change as a result of this deal with Iran? So he's asking about an individual,
right?
Specifically, a leader.
And will he become more in the American orbit because Iran has this deal to not build these nuclear weapons in order to have a relaxation of these very difficult economic sanctions.
Right.
So they're trading laying off building a bomb in favor of building their economy. That's the gamble that the Iranians are making.
Mm-hmm. And instead, he doesn't really answer that question.
No, I'm answering more than he did.
I know.
And I'm just a reporter. I don't really know
Kraft
anything.
2016.
I don't know anything.
Yeah, he just starts talking about
Iran's in the driver's seat.
Deal. But then, Hugh Hewitt kind of gathers that Donald Trump doesn't know what he's talking about. So he's like, well, Soleimani is to terrorism, sort of what Trump is to real estate. And Trump's response is, okay.
And then Hugh Hewitt makes a very, I think, questionable assertion that many people would say he's the most dangerous man in the world, and he runs the Quds forces, which is their Navy SEALs. And, I think that the people running Islamic State are a lot more dangerous.
Yeah, I think ISIS is like the most evil.
So al-Baghdadi is far more of a threat to America than anyone in Iran right now.
Right. And then there's the other question I wanted to go right here. Right here. I'm looking for the next commander-in-chief to know what Hassan Nasrallah is, and Zawahiri, and al-Jilani, and al-Baghdadi. Do you know the players without a scorecard yet, Donald Trump? So asking point blank, do you know who these people are?
Well, you ought to know. I mean, I know some of them, and I'm not an expert. I know who al-Baghdadi is. We just talked about him. He's on
ISIS.
the state boss. Zawahiri is an al-Qaeda leader. Wasn't he like the number 2 guy to Osama bin Laden?
I believe so.
Yeah. And I think these other Hassan Nasrallah, I'm guessing
he's the commander
maybe
of the
Hezbollah,
Lebanese terror group Hezbollah.
Oh, I got that one.
You
How about
did.
that?
And then al-Jilani.
That I don't know.
Any guesses?
Well, it's from that area of the world. I know that much. Maybe Al-Qaeda in the Mesopotamia. It's some offshoot.
Okay, let's see.
I don't know who he is.
He is a part of Al-Qaeda. Al-Muhammad al-Jilani is the head of Jabhat al-Nusra, the support front.
Okay.
Al-Qaeda's faction based in Syria.
Close.
So Al-Qaeda in
I
Syria.
kind of was there.
You pretty much got it.
Yeah. I said Mesopotamia. It's kind of there.
Yeah, that doesn't exist anymore, but yes.
Right. If it were there.
If it were.
That's kind of where Iraq
and
is.
then Donald Trump is like, no.
Well, even I knew that, and I'm no good at this stuff.
But Donald Trump straight up says, no, he doesn't.
Well, come on, man. You're the leader of the Republicans running for president. All you got to do is buy the Cliff Notes and read it. Someone's got him out there.
Well, there's a lot of things that you have to know, though, as president. A lot of things you need to read up on.
Well, he has plenty of time in his 757. It's just flying around and around a football stadium to nail down a few facts. So if you were to go on Jeopardy and they were to throw some questions up, you could get a pretty good score.
Right. So then Donald Trump's like, no, I'll tell you honestly, I think by the time we get to office, they'll all be changed. They'll all be gone. He thinks that all the terror groups will be gone, I guess. I knew you were going to ask me things like this, and there's no reason, because number one, I will hopefully find General Douglas MacArthur in the pack. I will find whoever it is that I'll find, and but they're all changing, Hugh. These are like history questions. Do you know this one? Do you know that one? I will tell you. I thought you used the word Kurd before. I will tell you that I think the Kurds are the most underutilized and are being totally mistreated by us, and nobody understands why. But as far as the individual
on
players,
what basis does he say
I
that?
don't know them.
How
I've
does he
never
know
met
that?
them. I haven't been, in a position to meet them. If they're still there, which is unlikely in many cases, but if they're still there, I will know them better than I know you. It's such a Donald Trump response.
Well,
because you can tell it's just so defensive.
Yeah. It's like he doesn't really need to know specifically who anybody is, because he personally is going to go there and kick their tails.
Right, and he's going to hire the people that need to do that anyways.
Right.
He's
So
just I'm just the boss.
It's like we're building a difficult project, and I'm going to get the right foreman and forewomen to get the construction done. I'll delegate it and we'll take care of the project. That's how he looks at this. Like it's a deal he's working on. Mm-hmm. But it's not like that when you're president. It's constantly shifting. It's 3-dimensional chess. you know, I don't know. Some of these other candidates probably don't know any more of this than he does. Let's be fair.
Right.
I mean,
Right.
I know Carly Fiorina is getting a lot of love out there right now, but
Does she know
if
all?
you were to ask her, if you were to ask Ben Carson, would he know all these players? I highly doubt it. Would Governor Christie know all these people? I think Rand Paul would, because he's in the Senate. He hears the names a lot.
Right.
I think Jeb Bush would probably, because he's really into that wonky stuff, and he probably reads a lot about it.
And his brother was president.
His brother was
during
president.
the rise of terror.
Yeah, these groups were all unleashed by George W. Bush's
Right. So he kind of needs
decisions. So
Right.
his decision points, his disastrous decision points, kind of gave birth to this horrendous situation that we have now.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, he's probably sat at enough family dinners with Dick Cheney and his brother and his dad to.
But I have a question for you.
Which is his problem. That is Jeb's problem. Everybody, he's a very solid citizen and praiseworthy guy, and he was a popular governor. Of course, he hasn't been a governor since 2007.
Right.
But now everybody associates him with
his last name.
Yeah, and I know George W. is still popular among some Republicans, but the country generally, it was pretty disastrous, let's face it.
I have a question for you. Since we're talking about that part of the world and politicians and everything, have any of the candidates spoken out about the whole crisis in Syria? I know we talked about it briefly in the morning meeting, but those pictures that are all over the internet of kids washing up ashore, it's the most tragic thing.
And these people who are getting out of Syria right now are some of their best and brightest people. These are
they're trying to escape ISIS.
These are intellectuals. These are business people. These are folks who are able to get the money together to get out of the country, and now they're living this awful.
So sad.
Yeah.
And then I know there's that picture of that boy that was washed ashore, and then there's this interview with the dad who tells the story about how he watched each of his kids slip away and his wife, and he's the only.
And they all died.
It's the saddest thing, but. I'm asking you because I haven't paid attention too much. Do you know if any politicians have commented on that in the last couple of days?
There's been lots of general hand-wringing. There's been lots of general, we should have intervened more strongly early on to militarily against Islamic State. But, it's easy to sit there and fire pot shots. No matter who's the president, they're gonna get that.
Right.
The general criticism by Republicans has been that we have not been assertive enough in going there and with boots on the ground and driving back the invaders. But what they're forgetting is that before Islamic State really rose, when it was just a mess in Iraq between moderates fighting the Syrian government was poisoning its own people. It was dropping cluster bombs. It was doing all kinds of human rights violations. It wasn't like there was any sympathy in America to go in there with boots on the ground to somehow in any way prop up this awful regime, the Assad regime. Mm-hmm. Now we think of Assad as not so bad a guy compared to these even worse people, the Islamic State people.
Right.
So it's been a constantly shifting calculation, and all there is sort of a general condemnation of the status quo and the way the president has handled the situation.
Mm-hmm. Let's check in with the viewers again. Tess saying they are families. You can see fathers carrying their babies. It's just heartbreaking.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Really sad. Temid Bishima saying anybody but Trump, please. John Hoffman saying presidents hire advisors to inform them on foreign affairs, so they don't necessarily need to know everything going on. And Tess saying, I think Carson would learn because he's a thinker. He wants to research and learn. He values intellect. Tamid Bashima saying Carson is better than Trump.
What does Tess say? John, correct, but I expect a leader to have a personal knowledge as well. Mm-hmm. And I'm looking at some of our presidents in history, and a number of them have had, pretty good storehouses of information. If you look back historically, I mean, George W. Bush knew a lot of this stuff. George H.W. Bush, I should say.
Right.
He'd been director of the CIA, and he'd been vice president. He knew these things. Jimmy Carter, of course, knew a lot of specifics. I don't know. Ronald Reagan knew a lot of these specifics, I would think.
Well, Les Chow Mein asked, how much did Obama know about the world before he was president? Probably very, very little. No one in this race has less accomplishment as Obama was before he became the president.
I disagree with that. I think there's lots of reasons people can disagree with Obama's policies, but I listen to him a lot as he was running for president, and even before he was president, because I'm from the state where he was a senator, and before that a state senator, that guy knew a lot about a lot of things, going way back. I mean, he just did. He might have been kind of almost nerdy at the time, but you know, the guy was the president of the Harvard Law Review. He's a kind of a smart guy.
Right.
People may disagree vehemently about his decisions as president, but the amount of information that he has access to in his mind, in his brain, is pretty extensive.
It's crazy.
I mean, if you listen to his news conferences, and sometimes we do, you guys at home hear the 30-second clips, but we'll sit there and listen for 2 hours. I mean,
We watch the whole thing on News Now.
yeah, it's like listening to a college professor, blah, 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 blah.
He's probably going to, is that what he's going to do next?
No, I think he'll do some of that at University of Chicago, where he was teaching, where David Axelrod, his political advisor, is now a professor, and it's a fantastic school. But I think he's also going to travel around the world and do all these peace efforts and stuff. But the guy he knows a lot of stuff. I mean, that's just how he is. Sometimes to the point where, and Bill Clinton is another guy who has command of a lot of facts.
Right. That's true. He seems very intelligent. Well, he is intelligent. I read his whole book, and by read I meant listened to his whole book.
Right.
And it was very informative.
But think about it historically. I mean, Republicans as well as Democrats, a guy going way back like Dwight Eisenhower, that guy knew a lot of stuff. John F. Kennedy knew a lot of stuff. Lyndon Johnson knew a lot of stuff.
Basically, to be
Richard Nixon knew a
president,
lot
you
of
should
stuff.
probably know a thing
Richard
or
Nixon
two.
was a very highly, full of information kind of guy. A lot of these presidents are really up on things, so that's part of the gig. Mm-hmm. That's why Sarah Palin got so much abuse, because she didn't know what
could
was
see
going
Russia
on.
from her place. Tess chiming in saying, Fiorina has a good grasp of world players. I was pretty surprised listening to her the other day.
That's cool.
Billy Z. Cruzen saying, I've heard Obama talk about how much opportunity there is in America in one speech, then how oppressive America is in another speech, so I'm done with blob.
Yeah. He's certainly a controversial guy. He will be all the way through the end of his term in office, no question.
And Les Chow Mein saying, only accomplishment Obama had was his Harvard degree, and he clearly stated that he got in because of affirmative action. Okay.
That's incorrect.
If Obama can be president, seriously, most Americans can.
Yeah.
Les Chow Mein is not a fan of Obama, clearly.
Yeah.
We kind of know the views in the chat room. Billy Z. Cruzen and Les Chow Mein, not big Obama fans.
Well, I think probably it's fair to say that most of the people who are watching us are not Obama fans. I mean, don't you think most people who watch Channel 10 are not particularly Obama-centric?
I don't know that. I can't say that factually.
Well, our state is a red state.
I do know that.
It's a red state, and
I
we're a
know.
Fox station in a red
I
state.
understand this.
And we are the best station in the Fox world,
It's true, we are.
and the most successful.
We are, right?
Yep. And I think that we have a pretty
Of
reliably...
all of the stations in the country,
all of them. We're the best. I
we
really
have
feel
numbers
that.
to back it up.
And I think that our viewership is center-right for the most part, not exclusively, but, kind of reflects the general point of view of Arizona, which is kind of politically at the moment a state that's supposed to become a purple state but isn't quite there yet.
Purple means red and blue combined.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Right now we're kind of
There's a
more
new party out
reddish
there.
with a little bluish tint to it, but more reddish. So you would imagine that the president's not particularly popular among people who are watching us right now. But you know what? It's a free country.
that is true. Fire Freak asking, honestly, why do these countries expect America's help? Our military is stretched too thin at this point. How it is, I think America should take care of itself before trying to help others.
A lot of people feel that way. A lot of people feel
But
that
then
way.
you see the photos of the kids, and then you're like,
You are, but you remember, and this is why the president didn't send boots on the ground into
didn't,
Syria.
right,
Why?
you're right.
Because we had quagmire in Iraq, and we had a 14-year war in Afghanistan.
and it's just not working.
And, if you had a kid who's 20 years old, would you want your kid to be on a battlefield in some miserable part of Syria fighting against who knows who?
But they're not forced to.
No, but I mean, it's somebody's kid,
Oh, no, you're right.
right? And
No.
somebody could get killed.
You're right.
And so I think the country is very tired of this. They want a muscular foreign policy, but they don't want to have us covering stories, which we did so much during the Iraq and Afghanistan wars, of covering returning bodies of soldiers.
So sad.
Yeah. I covered those, and I went to funerals at the memorial, the cemetery, the National Cemetery here in North Phoenix. It's awful. It's heartbreaking. And that's part of the job that we don't talk about much, but I've gone to so many funerals. in my years as a TV reporter. Never thought I would do that. And a lot of military funerals, from all kinds of wars and disasters and accidents. And so, all the enthusiasm to go in there and kick some butt, once you realize it's an asymmetrical war and everybody's a bad guy somehow, and your kid or someone you know's kid is in the middle of that, heroically, fighting for what? Most people feel like, what was the point of the Iraq War? What did we get out of that?
Aren't people angry with the Vietnam War too?
Yeah.
So it's
Another war that was a big...
What
was
war
it?
were people happy with?
Second World War.
I was just going to say, but since World War II.
No wars. They
Not
weren't
the
happy
Korean
with Korea? No.
Korea,
And Korea had
Vietnam,
over 50,000 people get
Iraq,
killed in Korea.
Gulf.
Yeah. The Gulf War was a short war. It's, but it was inconclusive. And they didn't go to Baghdad and get rid of Saddam Hussein that time. But what's been accomplished? In Afghanistan's a mess. What can we say is better? So, for all these Republicans who are going to be calling for a more assertive foreign policy, they're going to run into a situation at some point where people are going, really? Do we really want to do this? The only guy who's not like that is Rand Paul. He's like, no, we don't want to do this. We need to pull back and take care of ourselves. But look where Rand Paul is in the polls. Nowhere.
That's true.
What happened to this guy?
Yeah, there was a lot more talk about him before we started taking polls.
Yeah, This is another interesting thing, and I'm digressing. But I've been thinking about it a lot.
I changed the lower third, so now it's only our name, so you can steer away from Trump.
I've been thinking about this. Rand Paul's whole thing is limited government and get government out of your life and don't expect as much from the government and do your own thing and take care of your own life.
That's his whole shtick.
Right. Cut the bureaucracy, cut the funding, not all these entitlement programs to take care of you. You take care of yourself. I don't think most people actually believe that, and I think that's why he's sinking. Most people want their stuff for themselves, and they don't want the other guy to get stuff. I need my government benefits, I need my Social Security, I need my Medicare, and I need all you guys to cut back on what you're getting. That's how...
You guys as in who? The
rest of the world, yeah. People are self-directed, and they don't want cutbacks from themselves. They need their benefits. But they think there should be cutbacks out there in society to bring the budget under control. They just don't... When the conversation turns to, okay, would you be willing to forego some of your Social Security benefits or have a needs test before you get your benefits or maybe not get as much, that gets people really mad. Absolutely not. Don't cut me a penny. But we do need to cut the program, just not me. Just not my part of it.
Tess saying, I like those ideals, however, I don't like Rand Paul himself.
Yeah, that's another problem. He's just, But I don't think that the whole libertarian philosophy that on paper is appealing in so many ways for a lot of people, when push comes to shove, people just don't want to do it. Or they would be a viable third party, and they're not. And the one libertarian guy in this race is going nowhere. So why is that? I feel I should ask him, maybe at the debate, if he's in the top 10, which hopefully he will be, so we can talk to him. We'll say, why aren't your ideas catching on?
The debate's what, in 2 weeks?
Yes, 16th.
2 weeks from me yesterday.
Whoa.
2 days ago, Wednesday.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
A week from next Wednesday.
Yeah, it's in...
It's coming up. But
12 days.
That's an interesting question for all the folks who are really interested in the Republican competition here. Because we know where the Democrats are on this. They're like, yeah, people should get benefits. And we should expand benefits. But among Republicans, the battle is between cutting back radically, getting rid of whole departments in the government, or not doing it.
John Hoffman saying Christie knocked Rand out of the debates.
Wow. I don't know if it's been made official yet, but Christie and Rand are both kind of bottom feeders right now. I think Carly Fiorina will get in.
I've heard that.
Yeah, we're doing it. So what are some of the other folks saying here?
I think we've read most of them. I mean, Les Chaumain thinks Ben Carson is 10,000 times the man Obama is. And Billy Z. Cruzan says, I believe more Americans would seriously consider Carson for 2016 if Obama didn't just burn white America the way he has. So...
Okay.
That's Billy Z. Cruzan's take. Tess saying, I can't wait. I love these things, debates.
And that's true. There's a lot of affection for Ben Carson. A lot of people think very highly of him as a person. and
Yeah.
it's very admirable.
Well, Billy's
admirable
accusing
guy.
saying more Americans need to focus on content of character, not political affiliation.
Give peace a chance.
And Dee
Flash
just
of
got
concern.
back. Dogs needed to get walked.
Oh, thanks for sharing.
Well, welcome back,
Glad.
Dee.
Welcome back, Dee.
Welcome
She's back. Dee's just rocking.
Dee's always rocking. We had a pretty good discussion just now, Steve.
It was wide ranging.
It was.
A lot of heat, very little light, but that's how I do.
Well, there's a lot to talk about.
There is, and I just think that we have turned a corner. The silly summer is now about over, and now this fight is joined in a very serious way.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody who isn't Donald Trump is trying to take down Donald Trump. And Donald Trump, for his part, is trying to act more like a legit candidate every day. He's coming out with more positions, and he's going to have to deal with a lot more difficult questions. But that comes with being the leader. He is the leader. He is the leader in this race at this moment.
He's leading the polls.
So will he be able to convert all the people who find his style fun and refreshing, and convert those people into folks who actually go to the polls and vote for him, or go to the Iowa caucus and stand in the corner that says Trump? And that's how they do it at a caucus. It's not voting.
Interesting.
All these people go like to school gymnasiums or whatever it is.
Really?
Yep, and they say all the folks for Trump go stand in that corner. All the folks for Ben Carson go over here. All the people for Jeb Bush go over there. All the folks
What
for
is it?
Rand Paul-
Really?
And then they count heads. Yeah, it's really
Weird. But then
It
there's
is
like
weird.
peer pressure.
and people literally walk back and forth to wherever they're going to
That's-
stand,
and they
then
just keep
stand
going
somewhere.
back and forth because they
Well,
can't
they
decide.
until they decide, and then they stand in that spot.
That sounds so fun. I want to
It's
go.
kind of cool.
I want to see that.
Yeah, I went to one of these, and they were in a school gym, and then people just started milling around, and they got one place or another, and then they stopped, and then they counted who was where. That helps get the whole ball rolling for whoever's going to become president
So
of the United
fun.
States. It's crazy.
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's really bizarre. But so we have that situation in Iowa, that peculiar caucus, and then we have this little state in New England, New Hampshire.
I've heard of it.
That's so influential. This little
Right.
teeny state, and then we've got South Carolina, just sort of randomly in the south. Those are the three beginning states that get the ball rolling. And if you tank in all three of those, you're pretty much toast. It's crazy. So it's like if you're the USC Trojans, you got to get out of the gate and you got to win your opener.
Yeah, we haven't been doing too well lately.
Oh well, see if you guys turn it around. But anyway, so I think we're getting
Low
into
blow.
a serious.
Low blow. How about them Chicago Bears, Steve?
Oh God.
Gonna take it there now.
Oh, that hurts. 3-13, I'm looking at maybe better. 6-10.
You're hopeful.
I'm hopeful. Yeah.
In these moments, your loyalty is with the Cardinals, I guess.
Yes, I've been here a long time. Of course,
Yeah.
if you live here, you like the Cardinals, or else.
I have no other team to support besides the Cardinals.
No, you don't.
I don't. I mean, I guess I could claim the Niners, but that's so cliche.
No.
And I don't like Niners fans annoy me in California, so
Well,
there's that.
so anyway, this is a serious part of the campaign. This next debate is going to be very, very dramatic, because a lot of these candidates are going to take some desperate shots at Trump, and maybe Ben Carson to some degree, because he's doing well right now. Because if they don't, they're out. And a month after that, you're going to see the field reduced. And Rick Perry is going to be the first guy out.
Even before, what's that guy's name? Gilmore?
Governor Jim Gilmore,
You
former
think
governor of Virginia.
You think Peoria will be out before him?
Yep.
Huh. Interesting. Hapalea is very excited to see you, by the way.
Thank you.
Yay, Steve
Thank
Kraft.
you very much. So I guess I got to see how my story's doing.
Yeah, go work on that. I'm going to play this wrap-up Washington report from Joel Waldman, courtesy of Fox News, so viewers at home get an update on all things D.C.
Good. I'll have to check that out. That guy's real good.
Yeah, and we will see you next week, I guess.
Yep. Left on.
Thanks for hanging.
Yeah, you got it.
Some more Trump talk with Kraft a little bit later on.
The Republican Party tries to rein in the rhetoric of their top candidate, while Democratic frontrunner Hillary Clinton's campaign continues to be plagued by an email scandal. Also, President Obama's controversial Iran nuclear deal is another step closer to reality. On this edition of the Washington Report.
The framework that we have put forward will get the job done.
It was one of the most arduous foreign policy negotiations in recent memory, and this week, members of the Obama administration tried selling it to lawmakers and the American public.
This is a good deal because once implemented, it will remove a critical source of risk and uncertainty.
Congress is set to vote on the deal after the Labor Day weekend. President Obama appears to have the necessary votes for passage of the agreement thanks to Maryland Senator Barbara Mikulski, who became the 34th Democratic senator to publicly support the accord. Her vote would give the president enough support to prevent a veto override on any measure that shoots down the deal.
President Obama said the crazies will vote no. Let me tell you, you're crazy if you vote yes.
The Iran deal, a major focus on the campaign trail. It seemed to be the only thing Republican candidates could agree on this week. Intra-party fighting between current frontrunner Donald Trump and establishment candidate Jeb Bush hit a fever pitch. On Thursday, the head of the Republican Party met with Trump behind closed doors in an effort to tamp down the attacks, and also asked the real estate mogul to sign a pledge stating he would support whatever candidate won the GOP primary while promising not to run as an independent.
The best way for the Republicans to win is if I win the nomination and go directly against whoever they happen to put up. And for that reason, I have signed the pledge.
Meanwhile, the State Department made public more than 7,000 pages of Democratic presidential frontrunner Hillary Clinton's private emails this week. In the latest batch, 125 emails were censored for information now deemed classified.
What we've said all along is we have not found anything that was marked classified.
Most of the emails are mundane, focusing on travel details and scheduling. They offer little insight into her role in the deadly attack on the U.S. diplomatic post in Benghazi, currently under investigation by Congress. This week on Fox News Sunday, Chris Wallace talks exclusively with Philadelphia Police Commissioner Charles Ramsey and Milwaukee Police Chief Edward Flynn on the rising tensions between African Americans and police officers. That's this Fox News Sunday. In Washington, Joel Waldman, Fox News.
Hi, Jeff Moriarty.
Hi, Sammy. How
I
are
went
you?
from Trump Talk with Kraft to Tech Talk with Jeff.
You're like branching out. You're franchising.
I am.
What are you gonna have? You're gonna have animal talk with Andrew.
That's actually very true because he always goes to the animal stories. That was good.
I'm alliterating all over the place.
Animal talk. Well, it wouldn't be talk. It would be animal something. Animal update with Andrew.
Animal update. Andrew's animal update.
Andrew's animal update. There we go. Good one.
And then you have to have a noise. I feel like animals.
Yeah,
a different one every time. Andrew's animal update.
Andrew's animal update.
Yeah, see?
Like that.
Bam.
Wow. Okay.
Yes.
Well, that's pretty good though.
Anyways. How's your day going?
It's good. It's Friday.
Yay.
I'm really excited. It's been a good day so far.
Labor Day weekend.
Great
Only
day.
16 weeks till Christmas. Have you started your shopping yet?
No, we didn't even mention Steve's story here because we were so tied up with talking politics that we didn't even get to the fact that Steve's story today has to do with Christmas and Christmas shopping.
Yep.
Steve Kraft, apparently there's some statistic or someone saying out there that you can get better deals this Labor Day than you can on Black Friday on some items.
Yeah, well, a lot of the Labor Day specials and so on. There's great deals out there. The demand, the products are out there. They're not out of the stores. They're easier to get. There's not the crush. And apparently you can save a lot of money if you start your Christmas shopping this weekend. So get a jump on it.
Start shopping and find a storage place to hide your gifts, I guess.
I guess so. I have not started my Christmas shopping yet. I'll probably start
maybe 13 weeks before.
Yeah, I like
Not
to
about
cut it to the
16.
last minute. Cut it to the last minute there.
Oh my God.
I will hang my Christmas decorations probably on Monday, though. And then get
There's
my
a
Christmas.
Santa hat over by Steve's desk.
Well, you saw the picture of Steve with the Santa hat and the GoPro on his head.
I
Didn't you?
retweeted it.
That was pretty
Because it was
spectacular.
pretty amazing. And I asked if he could wear the hat on his News Now appearance, but I guess he didn't get the request.
Santa nerd is coming to town.
Okay, let's talk about Tech Talk.
Yeah,
Let's
no
do
one
our
wants to
Tech
hear
Talk.
Jeff sing.
So we have a couple things to talk about.
Yes.
Let's start with the tech part of it, and then we'll get into the nerd part of it, perhaps.
Depending on which way you mean this. Are you talking the Google or the Starzy Warzy?
The Google is the tech part.
Okay. So I've got a couple Google things, including one that will be near and dear to your heart, though not, I think, as potent as the previous incarnations. There's a cool Google thing.
I'm going to let you just take control of the mouse.
Oh no, this never works, right?
I know, but you need to get practice. You haven't, you haven't run a show in a while here.
It's a Friday because the ratings plummeted.
When was the last time there was such a Friday?
It was on a Friday.
Like May?
It was a while back. Well, that's because we've got the amazingly talented Kinsey, so you don't need the weekly talented Jeff. See how that works?
Then what if there's something happening at night that needs to be streamed?
We have Dracula. Actually, we have a series of vampires that we've hired. I don't know. I'm trying to think and type, and you're making it hard. Yes, I'm Batman. Shh. Okay, so Google had their new logo.
Should I put this on the screen?
Yes, do that. So this is what Jeff was. I heard Periscope broadcast somewhere. I was like intrigued. Okay, so Google changed their logo recently, and it got all fun and festive, and some people like it, and some people hate it. Which camp are you in?
Hate.
Hate?
Well, I know
hate
still,
with a face? Wow, that's
I just don't like change. They should have at least let us vote on the new design.
Right, because they care what you think?
They should. I mean, I'm
Yes,
still
they
going to use it.
absolutely
I mean,
should.
it's fine. It's nice. It's cute. But I wasn't ready for the change.
Yes, but, they've adapted it over time, regularly, and people accommodate and get used to it. It did, I think, as you point out, the browser icon,
It's like
the
a
favorite
Gmail.
icon.
I'll show them this.
Yeah, you're going to move. I just got that all set up. And you're just going to put it behind us so they can't see it anyway.
Wow.
And then it's going to be behind the banner. See, it's hard. This is difficult. Oh, she's figuring it out. There we go. Oh, boy.
See that?
You better put this back the way you found it, young lady.
There it is.
Yes.
Little G.
Up in the corner. So yeah, that's a fave icon. It's kind of a legacy thing. And if you use a browser, you've seen it kind of poking around on the top. So yeah, they changed that. One of the reasons I understand they changed the logo was to make it easier to view on mobile. More and more people surf this on their little phones, and making it bold like that is easier to read no matter how small it gets versus having serifs and everything else. I'm a bit of a font nerd, along with like a million
But
other
so
nerd
was Steve
categories.
Jobs, and that's how we got Apple.
Yes.
So it's okay to be a font nerd. I actually judge restaurants based on the font of their sign, and it's completely different. But I like fonts.
What's your favorite font?
I don't have a favorite. I just know that when
You
I
like
see
fonts, but you don't have a favorite font. Mm-hmm. Poser.
Comic Sans.
Oh,
Just kidding.
and I'm sorry it's your last day here, Samia. We're gonna miss you. We'll send you.
Helvetica?
Helvetica's better. There's a
Wingdings. Do you remember those? That was the best.
They're still there.
They are?
We're not getting Samia distractions.
Sorry, Wingdings. This was the original emoji, right? You can look at Wingdings as the original emoji.
Oh, and we've lost the show. Okay, so we've got a conference coming up in 10 minutes, remember?
Oh, right. We need to focus on Tech Talk.
We need to focus?
Focus on
Thank you.
You got me remembering my childhood.
I got you remembering your childhood. Okay, I'm now a hypnotherapist. You do not want me in your head. Trust me on that one. Okay, so what Google did, in addition to changing their logos, was put a few little Easter eggs into. I'm gonna put Sammy on timeout. Timeout for a minute. Anyway, so on what they have here is, if I can find the box, there we go. A few little Easter eggs when you search that are kind of fun. So, in fact, let's do a fun one.
Yeah,
let's just do fun fact.
How long does it take for a cactus? How fitting, because we're in Arizona.
It's almost as if it knew, which Google probably does because Google knows everything.
That's creepy.
Yeah.
It did that on purpose.
Yes. So you just type in fun fact and you get like a random interesting fact.
By 95 to 100 years in age, a saguaro cactus can reach a height of 15 to 16 feet and could start to produce its first arm. By 200 years old, the saguaro cactus has reached its full height, reaching upwards of 45 feet tall. Some saguaros have been seen with dozens of arms, while other cacti never Isn't it
Both
cacti?
are correct.
Why other cactus never produce a single one. Do you want to see? That's actually interesting that they brought up tall cacti.
What side is the tassel on before graduation?
Right side, and then it moves to the left.
Sometimes it's consistent, sometimes it changes. In other cases, it differs based on the level of study, with undergraduate students wearing it on one side. Let's do another fun fact. What is the first highway built in the U.S.? So highways are interesting too because of their numbering system, like the odd ones and how they both go, I think, east to west and then north to south, or south to north.
I love the highway system because it goes in numerical order.
Yeah. So that is a very
tall cactus.
Yes.
With lots of arms.
But now we're talking about the highways. You have to show a highway with lots of off-ramps. No, don't do that.
Okay.
So the other thing, if you notice here at the top, it actually, what you can't because it doesn't scroll that high, I'll move this down. It actually says, I'm feeling curious. Well, now, Samia, I'm feeling curious. What else could we type in there? I'm feeling
tired. That doesn't that's nothing.
There's a bunch of these in here. I'm feeling
happy.
Bored.
No.
Press the board button. Oh, there are a bunch of these. Look at this. Now I'm whipping this here. I'm feeling. I know there's generous was one.
Hungry.
And I got to open up my other thing about it because there are a bunch of things. I'm feeling. What was the one? Curious.
Curious.
Is it hungry?
It's not working the way it's supposed to be.
This is not working at all.
This is very awkward.
Did we break it? Did you break the Google with your cactus picture? It's like she's not paying attention, so.
Why were Dalmatians used on fire trucks? Oh, that's interesting. Dalmatians are perhaps best known for their role as firefighting apparatus escorts and firehouse mascots. Since Dalmatians and horses are very compatible, the dogs were easily trained to run in front of the carriages to help clear a path and quickly guide the horses and firefighters to the fires. I want to ask another question because this is fascinating.
All right, you do another one while I figure out why this isn't working.
How many years is one human year to a dog year? 7.
Is an oversimplified view of how old your dog is in human years. So ask another one.
Who was the first president to be born in a log cabin? Who was the last president to be born in a log cabin? I didn't know that many presidents were born in log cabins. That it was like a thing.
So here's some of the ones, and I'm wondering if these aren't working, because as of a couple days ago, some of the other ones that I talked about were. Let's see this. I'm feeling curious.
Go back to the other page. I think there's I'm feeling artistic.
Yeah.
I'm feeling playful. I'm feeling
So
playful.
Sami is a witness that I've got a reference here that says these things should all be working. I'm feeling wonderful. We'll try the rest of these things.
Where's wonderful?
There.
Kind of. Yeah, no,
feeling-
those are working. That's pulling up world wonders. That worked.
So here's the Google a day.
Click
Oh
on it.
no. Okay. Oh, this looks dangerous.
Try it. Hit start.
Google a day. There's no right way to solve it, but there's only one right answer. We ask a question.
You find the answer. Put your search skills in Google Tools to force. For instance, you can enter. Okay. The daughter of Anne Lancy and Mario. So, how do you search?
Well, you're not supposed to search.
No, it does. They give you Google right up there to search. They give you Google there to use. Wait.
Enter your answer. Go.
This is hard. I got it. I know.
Is it Flora Tristan?
No. We'll do Anne.
I think it's Flora Tristan.
French post-impressionist. Flora what? Flora Tristan. That's what you said.
Pretty much. No.
No, that's her mother. So it's Flora Tristan's child.
Oh, wait, okay, wait, hold. You got to read it. The daughter of blah 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 was the grandmother of which famous French post-impressionist? So Flora Tristan's
The grandmother.
of granddaughter. So Flora Tristan's granddaughter.
Oh gosh,
This is like thinking.
this is very hard.
We're gonna move on to a different topic because this is no fun at all.
Or maybe it is fun. I can't do this. My head.
All right. So anyway,
Give
try
me a
just
hint.
fun facts. That one's
They'll
still
give
working.
us a hint. Primitive to it early?
It started.
Okay. All right, guys. We are going live now to this press conference out of Peoria about a drowning. Let me go live there right now. Just having trouble getting there. All right. Here we are.
He sure did, yeah. And he was in custody at the time. So. All right, whenever you guys are ready, let me know. You guys are fill apart. Okay, on September 4th at approximately 12:30 this morning, Peoria Police Department was called to the address of 13,720 North 188th Avenue. That's the Vision Serenity apartment complex. They were called to the report of a drowning child. Upon arrival, officers discovered a 1-year-old female that was lying on the floor in the bedroom. The mother had reported that she had drowned in the pool, or I'm sorry, in the bathtub. And officers that had responded began giving CPR. Once the paramedics arrived, paramedics took over the CPR and transported the 1-year-old to Thunderbird Samaritan Hospital. Later on at the hospital, the 1-year-old was pronounced dead. It was at that point that detectives took over the investigation, and along with the county attorney's office today, they have arrested Miss Brenda Ramirez, who is the mother, on 2 counts of child abuse, which carries with it a Class 3 felony, and she's currently being processed and should be transferred down to the county jail later on today.
Did she say if she did this intentionally?
What she's at this point telling the police is that she had both of her children, the 1-year-old and the 3-year-old, in the bathtub. There was water in the bathtub, and to put it in her words, she had just stepped away for a little bit and came back, and the 1-year-old was not breathing.
Does it look like she was under the influence of anything?
At this point, it doesn't appear that she was, but we're still kind of looking into that. We're still doing toxicology tests and so forth.
Where did she go?
As far as what?
When she left the children?
She apparently went somewhere else into the bedroom and then came back. And to put it in her words, she just stepped away for a few minutes, is what she tells us.
Now, I know that she had called a friend at some point. Is it clear yet if she called that friend before calling police?
We're still looking into that. Both the phone calls were made at a very close proximity. We don't know if she called the police department first or her friend first. So, but the friends were on their way to the apartment to help out when we were arriving as well.
Why does this case bring charges whereas maybe another, say, drowning in a pool, wouldn't bring charges?
Well, this particular case, I think it was established that there was a significant amount of recklessness as opposed to maybe other situations that I'm not familiar with those situations. But nonetheless, this one here, there was a clear-cut recklessness aspect to it. And the detectives, along with the county attorney, and the county attorney was involved in the decision to make the charge and to charge Ms. Ramirez.
We can't help
help but think of the case earlier this week in Avondale where the mom admitted to intentionally holding her children underwater. Does it seem like this woman may have gotten ideas from that case?
We're not sure. Again, that is definitely one aspect or thing that we're looking at from the detective's point of view. We haven't determined that at this point, but the investigation is still ongoing. Not just because we've made the arrest and we're going to be charging her doesn't mean that we're going to stop doing the investigation. So that could be something we've looked into, and it does. It kind of does bring a parallel to what might have occurred in Avondale.
This woman is smiling. She has makeup on. When you see this kind of mug, is this a mug shot or
No,
this
that's her
DMV?
that's her DMV
Okay,
photo. Yes, ma'am.
I think one of the things that's startling is like it was taken right after, so she doesn't have a mug shot.
The mug shot's not available yet. No, ma'am.
Now, I mean, when you guys have to respond to something like this, I mean, how heartbreaking it is for you. We're coming at the end of summer now,
Mm-hmm.
so you've responded to a lot of drownings in pools, but this in a bathtub. I mean, how is that different for officers?
Pretty much anything involving a drowning, and then you compound it with the fact that it's a 1-year-old child, is very hard for any type of officer or the dispatchers that take the phone calls over the telephone as well. It's real hard, and you do think that at the end of the summer we're getting out of the drowning season, but we always need to be aware that, as the saying goes, 2 minutes is too long, and this could have been that type of a situation here where she stepped away just a short period of time and she lost a child.
Any idea when the mom will be transported over the mountains?
Not sure exact time. She's currently here, as last I was told, she's being processed. That's why I didn't have the booking photo available.
Are you able to tell us, did she seem remorseful?
I wasn't there for the interview, so I don't know as far as her attitude or her demeanor when she was being interviewed. She has been here most of the day, though.
We saw police serving a search warrant.
Yes.
Do you know what all they're looking for in there?
Well, whenever we have a crime of this stature, we always want to do search warrants and try to collect as much evidence as possible. Obviously, we need to go in and examine the bathroom, take a look at the bathtub, take a look at the bedroom itself. She said that she went elsewhere into the bedroom to retrieve something, so we need to measure distances to be able to approximate times. There's lots of different things that we're looking for.
They were looking over the car pretty heavily when we were out there. Would the car have anything to do with it?
Again, the car could lend any type of evidence of maybe prior activities. We do, there is a father involved, so you never know what's going to happen there. But again, he was not present when this went down.
You're obviously interviewing the mom and the friend, and I don't know how much the 3-year-old would know, or even if the 3-year-old can speak coherently, but have you been able to talk to this child?
The 3-year-old they were spoken to. As far as an actual interview, 3-year-olds are pretty young. The 3-year-old pretty quickly on in the investigation was taken to DCS, and DCS now currently has her.
The condition of the 3-year-old?
3-year-old is just fine. She had no problems whatsoever. And again, when we're talking about a 3-year-old, she's actually has just become 3 years old, so she's a younger 3-year-old as opposed to an older 3-year-old.
So the 3-year-old and the 1-year-old were in the bathtub at the same time?
Yes, sir.
Is there any message out there for parents? I think this is another one of those situations, a wake-up call.
Mm-hmm.
You can't just walk away.
Agreed. We need to always be vigilant. They say 2 minutes is too long. I'll take it to the point of 2 seconds is too long. You really want to always keep your attention on your children. We talk about distracted driving. We talk about all different types of distractions that can come into our lifetime that will not allow us to operate safely. And this is an example of one possibly, that you always want to be vigilant of your children, especially around water.
Big charge was the child endangerment charge. Is anything else going on with that?
Child abuse, you mean? She was arrested for 2 counts of child abuse, 1 for each child. Yes, sir, at this point.
Anybody else?
Have there been previous calls of service to this house for something related to anything about, violence, domestic abuse, anything like that you're aware of?
We have been called to the address several times. As to the nature of those calls, I don't have that readily available, but we have been there before.
With that same family in the unit? Or
Yes.
just the unit?
No, with that same family. Is that it? All right. Hopefully I answered all your questions for you.
What's her husband in jail for?
He was, I think it was disorderly conduct is what he was arrested.
And this was like recently, right?
This was just recently,
This
yes.
was like last night?
He was arrested last night, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, according to some of the neighbors, he sounded like
All right, guys, just a recap of what is going on. So this is some video from earlier today when the search warrant was issued. This is the video of that apartment complex in question, where the child lived. Again, details here, 1-year-old girl. This drowning happened around 12:30. 911 called that child was not breathing. Police said the baby was wet. Mother was in her 20s. Also a 3-year-old in the apartment, as we learned. Alright guys, and if you want a quick weather update, it looks like there's going to be some weather happening, possibly some dust or anything like that. We are looking at live images from Skyfox. Right now, Skyfox is headed to 36th Street and Thomas for a pedestrian crash. Joining me now is Mr. Dave Muncy. Dave.
Hi, getting my
Welcome.
chair ready.
So right now we are looking at these live Skyfox images. What does the sky look like?
Gray, overcast, a little threatening. You see in the background there a little bit of action. If you get the computer up.
I will.
Oh, look at you.
What?
What is that? What is oh my, oh, it's edible fruit, okay.
With chocolate covered.
Look at you, yes. Well, let me think about it a minute here. But we can take a look while I'm thinking. It smells chocolatey too. There you go.
I know you like chocolate.
You can see this stuff's getting awfully close to Phoenix here. So we do have a little bit of active weather. Let me see if I can manipulate that map a little bit and get down there and take a little closer look at things. Oh, that's gonna, you see there's plenty of it available as we go. And now what is that? Is that just a piece of candy with chocolate on it? And plenty of action around the state here as far as moisture is concerned. But most concerning to us is this stuff close to the valley. Whoops. Well, look at you. But that stuff is getting awful close.
So do you think it's
at
going to
this
hit
time.
Phoenix though? It looks like
I
it's
think
going
there's a
just
real
around
good chance.
Phoenix.
I think there's some stuff out by Buckeye right now that most certainly could give us a little bit of trouble. Look where it's feeding from. This is
Wow.
Kevin sending up moisture.
Hurricane Kevin?
It's tropical storm.
Tropical storm.
Tropical storm Kevin, and Kevin is moving northward. Once he starts moving west, he'll lose a lot of influence. He's already losing a little bit of moisture, but still feeding it up into Arizona. But once he loses that, once he starts moving a little bit more north or a little bit more west and north, he'll lose a lot of that influence.
How do they tell whether the hurricane or storm is a boy or a girl?
The way they name it.
Oh, it's just they don't determine the gender and then the name?
No,
okay.
It
I didn't know if there were more
after the
different
name.
kinds.
It just depends what comes up.
Okay, got
What
it.
comes up, and then they name it like
It's
that.
like, is it Kevin or Christy?
Yeah, no, it's Kevin. And Kevin is just a tropical storm, but it's got a lot of moisture with it.
Tess thinks Kevin looks mean.
Who's that? Oh. Well, actually, Kevin, we don't have Kevin up anymore, but Kevin's kind of falling apart. Getting a little sheer to it and getting a little bit smaller. So that's good news with Kevin, unless we just want it to pump moisture up here continually. And the rest of the hurricanes in the Pacific had all headed toward Hawaii. Kevin looks as though he may go way north of, or way west, trying to think of where that is, way north of Hawaii. So we won't worry too much about Kevin, other than the moisture that he's pumping up here. That's the weekend right there. Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. Your best, your best chances of rain are going to be Sunday and Monday. So they're about a 20% chance.
Dee just had a 10-minute downpour with thunder and lightning, and now the sun is out again.
And where is she? She must be over on the west side or the southwest side. If she's in the valley, because that's where the storms are right now.
Well, John Hoffman is saying the sky is getting darker on the west side of Phoenix.
Mm-hmm. It is getting darker over there. There is a storm moving up from the south.
Look at those temperatures.
Those are the current temperatures.
I cannot believe.
Yeah.
That was our high today, 96.
Well, that's the current temperature. So we don't know what the high was. The high was probably 97, 98.
But it wasn't 100. It wasn't even 103.
No, it wasn't 103. I know that. It may have been 100. We just have to wait and see what the final is. Oh, that should be in. Yeah, it should be in by now. So I would have to run over and take a look at my computer and see what that says.
Tess chiming in saying anything under 110 makes her happy.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
You can't go wrong with 108. Just
Yeah.
kidding. Dee's in Utah.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go.
So.
Yeah. I mean, we do look at the weather in Utah, but I don't do their forecast. So, so there you go.
Let's go back and look at our sky again. Look at
Yeah,
that.
it's a little bit threatening. It's not terrible, but a little bit so. I'll move the
It's
map.
not sunny outside.
No,
That's for sure.
And it really hasn't been all day. It was a little bit this morning, but it hasn't been all day. Go back to that. Oh, here we go. And then you can see once again Kevin down there feeding moisture up into Arizona. That's a good shot of Kevin right there, and give you a look at it. The rest of the country is fairly quiet as we head into the weekend. There's a few rainstorms here and there, but all in all, it's not going to be a bad weekend. And I just put out something on Facebook about watching your kids around water too.
Right.
Something to do over the weekend. Be very cautious when we're having big family events and get-togethers. That's when we tend to be a little careless and forget about the kids. And boy, that one moment of carelessness can mean a lifetime of just absolute terror. So
agony.
Yeah, you don't want to go through that. You don't want to go through that. I've talked to people that lost their children within a year of them losing their children. and they weren't over it. And I've talked to people that were 10, 15 years out from losing their children, and they're not over it.
That's so sad.
Yeah, it's really it scars you. So
Those that
watch
don't
them,
have kids,
watch them.
I
Once
guess.
they're gone, they're gone. You can't bring them back.
Really sad.
And so it's times like this. It's busy weekends when the family's around, when things are happening. In the fall, we have a little tendency to have a spike in our drownings because things are happening. School is on. People are forgetting the pool, with the exception of the 2-year-old. 2-year-old is remembering what a great time they had in the pool, what a great summer it was, and they want to get back in there. So when it heats up a little bit, when they get the break, they're always watching. They're always watching. I have a little something I say when I'm speaking. I always say, we don't put 2-year-olds in jail. And people think it's because they're 2-year-olds. Well, that's one of the reasons, but the other reason is because they'd get out. They'd find a way out, you know.
That's funny.
They find a way out of their cribs, they find a way out of their rooms, they find a way out of the house, they find the way into the pool.
Mm-hmm.
And they're always watching, and they keep information. They will find an open gate, and they will not tell you about it. They'll keep it quiet
Sneaky
because
kids.
they want to use that for the opportunity that they're going to take to go back into the pool when they're told not to.
Real quick, I just want to acknowledge what's going on right now. Uh-oh, terrible, terrible scene right there. 36th Street in Thomas. That bus that we just looked at hit a pedestrian. It's a bus versus pedestrian crash. Unfortunately, the pedestrian did not survive.
Yeah,
it's
that's
a really tragic story. We're
not
just
a
learning
good
about it right now.
survival right there.
Skyfox is live above the scene. This is 36th Street in Thomas.
This just happened?
This just happened. So you can see it's right over there, and you can see that the road is completely blocked off by all the police vehicles right there. So, yeah, it is really, really sad. And we just know it's 36th Street in Thomas. I'm trying to figure out whether the bus is on 36th or on Thomas. Right now, I would guess that it's on Thomas, but I can't quite tell from right up here.
Traffic doesn't look too bad. I would imagine people got home early or didn't work today or whatever because traffic doesn't look backed up at all.
That's nice.
In that long shot. But there's your bus right there.
There's
so,
the bus, yeah. But they're not zooming in because I believe the body is still on the ground.
Yeah, I do see something covered up by the bus there.
So.
Yeah, tough afternoon.
Yeah.
For a family that's going to find out about that. That's life in the big city.
So sad.
Are you doing anything for the weekend?
I'm going to...
Going to California?
No, I'm here.
Oh, okay.
Because I work on Monday, so it's not like it's just like every other weekend.
Oh, every other weekend.
I'm going to... we had a comedian on the show today.
You had a comedian on the show today?
This morning we had Jamie Kennedy, so I will probably be going to that show tonight.
Oh, I see. You have tickets?
Well, if I want to go, I do.
I see. You go.
But I mean, you can.
Was he funny?
I was entertained this morning. Yeah.
Okay.
So I might do that tonight. Might not. Oh look. That's funny.
We do have some storms moving on the west side. I'm going to go check that, and I'll let you know what's going on, okay?
All right, Dave Muncy,
Okay.
thanks for stopping by. All right, guys, we're going to go back to those live images of the bus. This is the bus involved in the crash. You can see it's pulled over to the side. Really unfortunate situation. Oops, that should not be there. Where a bus hit a pedestrian. Unfortunately, the pedestrian did not survive. Wait. All right, guys, it doesn't look like there's much police activity right there. You just know that the street has been blocked off. That bus hit a pedestrian. The pedestrian, unfortunately, did not survive. So if you're going to be in that area, 36th Street and Thomas, just know part of the road has been blocked off because of this unfortunate tragedy. With that said, we don't have any other live events happening right now, so what I want to do is I want to go ahead and play this press conference for you. This is in regards to that Kentucky clerk, Kim Davis. She has been making headlines nationwide because of her refusal to issue same-sex marriage licenses in Kentucky, and as you guys know, she went to court yesterday. She was found in contempt of court, and some people are still supporting her, some people aren't a fan. It's obviously a very controversial thing, and this is a press conference that happened just a few hours ago. Let's go ahead and watch.
She slept with a very good conscience, and she was in very good spirits. She was encouraging to us, and I think she never envisioned herself to be here, but this is where she is. She is here because of her conscience. She's a prisoner of her conscience, if you will. She has a clean conscience, even though she's incarcerated behind these bars. One thing that Kim Davis will never do is imprison her conscience, even though she herself may be physically incarcerated. She loves God. Her life was radically transformed 4.5 years ago when she heard a story of grace and forgiveness. And during that time, when she went to a church that evening at the dying wish of her godly mother-in-law, she heard that there was a God who loved her and gave himself for her and died for her sins and freely forgave all that she had ever done. And as she says, she played in the devil's playground for a long time. And her life's been radically changed since then. And that really forms the basis for Kim Davis's commitment and her conscience, because she loves God, she loves people, she loves her job and the people of Rowan County, and she's committed to all of them. To the people of Rowan County, she's been a servant there for 27 years. Her mother was there for 40 years before that. Last year, she ran for public office. She had never had any political aspirations. She felt a call on her life to run for office, and she became the clerk of Rowan County. And she will remain the clerk of Rowan County as long as the people want her as the clerk of Rowan County. She has no intention of stepping down because she loves her people and loves the job, and she intends to serve them well, and she already has done that. By the end of the year, she'll return about $1.5 million in savings to that county. But she also loves God, and one thing that she can't do is issue a license for marriage under her name and under the authority of the clerk of the court for Rowan County that authorizes marriage that is contrary to God's design for marriage. She is someone who cannot affix her name or her title and under her authority to a marriage license that goes down into the annals of Kentucky history for as long as there is a Kentucky. That is, for Kim Davis, a heaven or hell decision, she said, and it's also a decision of obedience. So some have asked me, how long is Kim Davis going to be incarcerated here? I cannot tell you that. I don't know what this judge will do. I can tell you what we're getting ready to do from a legal perspective. But I can tell you very clearly what Kim Davis will do. Number one, she has no intention to resign. She will continue to serve the people of Rowan County as she has done for so many years. And number two, she will never violate her conscience and never betray her God. So she is prepared for the consequences of those two decisions, and that's why she's here. She is the first person to literally be imprisoned since a decision 5-4, 2 months ago on June 26 by the Supreme Court. And frankly, I think it has stunned the American people. It has shocked me. We did not anticipate that we would be here with Kim Davis in an orange jumpsuit as we visited her just a few moments ago, incarcerated with an indeterminate amount of time here in this detention facility. But we're here, and Kim Davis is content with wherever she is, And so she has no remorse, and she is a lady who has incredible resilience and incredible faith. Now, as it relates to the marriage licenses that were issued this morning, it is our position and the position of the clerk of Rowan County, Kim Davis, that those licenses are void. They are not being issued under the authority of Rowan County Clerk's office, and they're not worth the paper that they are written on. Kim Davis has asked for a simple request. Not every request based on religious liberty can be accommodated. But there's two things that you have to ask before you get to the accommodation. Is the belief sincere? No one doubts that. Is there a conflict with a person's conscience and religious conviction and their sincere belief? No one doubts that here. So then the next question and the big question is, can that be accommodated? And in some cases where it can't be accommodated, that's the end of the story. But here we've given many points of accommodation, the easiest of which is that the form would not only remove her name but her title as the clerk of Rowan County from the marriage certificates. They could be issued through some central authority. They could be filed just like a lien or other document is filed or recorded, but it cannot have Kim Davis's name or her authority as the clerk on that certificate. And Kim's not the only one who's made that request. The clerks of the court association has made that request as well. Lots of other clerks have the same accommodation request. That's one of many, but rather than several $100,000 that it took to accommodate the Attorney General's conscience last year when he said for conscience reasons he could not defend the marriage laws, where they hired an outside counsel, this accommodation would cost the taxpayers nothing. You change the form and amend the statute. This could be done by the governor quickly. It could be done by the legislature. There's lots of ways that this could be done. In fact, Judge Bunning himself, instead of incarcerating an innocent woman, could have ordered that the forms be changed accordingly to accommodate Kim Davis's reasonable accommodation request. And we will continue to pursue that claim until it is also ultimately pursued as far as it can. Now, where are we going from here? Judge Bunning court yesterday was a charade. He had already contacted the jailer of this detention facility, and that jailer was present, and the marshals were already queued in before he banged the gavel to start that hearing. He knew that he was going to incarcerate Kim Davis before he heard one word of testimony. They were already there, and the rest of it was just a dog and pony show, and at the end of which he said he had to come to the conclusion to incarcerate her. But that was his conclusion before he ever got to court that morning. He did so many things that we believe violate not only procedural law but constitutional law as well, and we will immediately appeal by the end of the day his contempt ruling to a higher court. Moreover, we will be pursuing writs of habeas corpus to have Kim Davis released from this facility or any other facility that Judge Bunning chooses to put her in. But we will not allow her to just continually sit here and have her constitutional rights violated or her conscience trampled by what happened yesterday and what's happening every moment that she's here in this detention facility. So with that, there's other legal avenues that we will be pursuing as well. We will be back here next Tuesday. We have been inundated, frankly, at Liberty Counsel from around the country and also from around the Commonwealth of Kentucky by people that are pouring out their support for Kim Davis. So we will be back here next Tuesday afternoon at 3 o'clock for a rally in support of Kim Davis. And we anticipate that there will be a lot of people that are here to support her. Lots of people are calling, sending emails, contacting us in support of Kim Davis and wanting to know how they can help, and we're asking them to pray for Kim because that's what Kim would want.
What specific constitutional right of hers is being violated?
Well, her constitutional right, well, several, actually. The original constitutional right was her free exercise of religion under the First Amendment of the United States Constitution, the Kentucky Constitution, and the Kentucky Religious Freedom Restoration Act. That requires that if someone has a sincerely held religious belief, whether they're in private or public sector, that if there's a practice or policy that collides with that or burdens that belief, then the employer, be it government or private, has a right, depending upon what law you're looking at, to accommodate, or has a duty to accommodate.
A duty to accommodate?
A duty to accommodate.
Mr. Seaver,
And so I'll get to you in just a second. A duty to accommodate. And the real question at that point is, can the government or the employer accommodate your conviction? If no, then that's the end of the story. But if there's reasonable alternatives, the government has to use the least restrictive means available to accomplish their objective while still accommodating a person's religious belief and practice.
Who should make
Yes.
You just spoke to Kim. What's her opinion of the 5 deputy clerks who have agreed now to follow the judge's orders and issue these marriage licenses from her office?
We didn't specifically get into what her opinion is of those clerks. However, I can tell you that Kim Davis has worked with these men and women for many years. They're friends, they're colleagues. She has the deep respect for all of them and collegiality. But she understands also that they were threatened with arrest. That's an ominous threat. When you're threatened with arrest versus doing an act, and 5 of the 6, because of that threat, which in itself is questionable, that the judge had jurisdiction to bring them in like that when they weren't parties to the case, they made a decision. And each person has to make their decision. She has no animosity to them at all.
Any disappointment with that decision?
She's not disappointed with the people. She's disappointed. I don't think she's disappointed. She hasn't expressed disappointment with anything. She's obviously expressed disappointment with the process here from a legal perspective that these claims of simple accommodation haven't been addressed, but instead she's here being incarcerated.
Mr. Staver, you mentioned that she thinks that the licenses that were issued this morning are invalid. The county attorney yesterday in court said that he believes they are. Who's right? And if she does get out of jail, what will she do to invalidate it?
Well, her mother was a clerk of the court for 40 years and has a lot of experience in this particular area in terms of issuing licenses and marriage licenses. And she's been in this particular position for 27 years and now is the clerk of court. And these licenses are issued under the authority of the clerk of the court of Rowan County, and this clerk is not giving that authority to do so.
Will Ms. Davis file suit, or will the Family Foundation file suit to void those licenses?
We haven't talked about that. We're focused right now on getting Ms. Davis her freedom.
Two other clerks have said in Kentucky that they are not going to issue licenses as well.
Right.
Have you been in touch with them? Have there been any movement against them? Are they afraid now that they're going to be hauled off to jail?
We have been contacted by other clerks in Kentucky. We've been contacted by other clerks in other parts of the country. We haven't talked to any clerks in Kentucky that I'm aware of. They may have called our office, but I've been focused on other matters, obviously. In Kentucky, since yesterday's hearing, I don't know what they're thinking. You know, I do know that we filed suit in North Carolina on behalf of the magistrate judges. They had a similar issue, and the legislature convened, and they passed a legislation that accommodated their conscience, and we dropped the suit. There are simple fixes to some of these issues rather than incarcerate innocent people.
So you're talking about both go to the Sixth Circuit?
Pardon me?
Does your appeal and the writ for habeas corpus both go to the Sixth Circuit?
Yes.
So you're appealing to the same bodies that have rejected your prior appeals?
They haven't rejected our prior appeals, if you understand the legal process. Our underlying appeal with regards to the injunction is still pending. Never been ruled upon, not briefed. It's in a briefing schedule.
Are you optimistic about that ruling?
Let me finish my answer to your question. What we filed was a request for a stay of the implementation of the lower court order, which is an extraordinary request. They're hard to get. That's what the court declined to hear. That's what the Supreme Court declined to give. That's what the Supreme Court declined. Never has the merits of the underlying injunction been ruled upon, number one. Number two, yes, we're going to go to the Sixth Circuit on that. However, we have other options with regards to a habeas outside of and inside the federal court. So we haven't made a decision yet as to where we will pursue that habeas.
Are you profiting from Ms. Davis's situation?
Do you ask that question of the ACLU?
I can.
Yeah, ask them.
Is that who should make the next move? You say the governor or the legislature? The governor, an attorney for the governor's office, said yesterday that he had no authority to change the form, and the legislature doesn't meet until January. So
It's the same governor who already modified the form. So who are you going to believe? Someone who says they can't change the form when they already modified the form? When obviously they can modify the form, and he has the power to be able to do that.
are you calling on him to do that right now?
Absolutely.
He gets out of jail.
She's in incarceration here, not because of anything she's done, but because of what the governor has failed to do. The governor could have resolved this very easily, like he resolved his attorney general's conflict, and I respect that. It was an expensive resolution of conscience. That was his decision. He could easily resolve this, too, by an executive order to address these marriage licenses.
Well, what do you think about the judge's argument that public elected officials cannot pick and choose what orders to obey?
The matter of fact here is that even the President of the Senate filed a brief that said, since the 5-4 opinion by the Supreme Court, the laws regarding marriage have been completely shredded. And it is up to the General Assembly to come back in and readdress these, because right now they don't make sense the way they're written. So the fact of the matter is, she has asked for a reasonable accommodation. She hasn't gotten a hearing on that before Judge Bunning yet, although it's very simple to do. But I can also tell you that she cannot violate, and she will not violate, her conscience. Just like the Attorney General, who is the sole elected law enforcement officer to defend the Commonwealth of Kentucky, has a duty to defend Kentucky. And when that duty was requested last year, he raised his conscience as an impediment to doing so, and he got a reasonable accommodation, which was actually quite a significant accommodation because he's the top law enforcement official, and it was an expensive accommodation. That's fine. All she's asking for is the same thing.
Is it a good thing for our country to have elected officials simply ignore federal court orders?
You know, you might want to ask that of a lot of different individuals. For example, Mayor Gavin Newsom in San Francisco, who just celebrated the 10th year of what he did in 2004, in which he ignored clear state law and other orders and began issuing same-sex marriage licenses. What Kim Davis is doing is nothing unusual in the history of our country. What she cannot do is be imprisoned by her conscience. So she's being put in a catch-22. In fact, if you go back, Kim Davis initiated a request to the legislature in January of this year. And of the 120 clerks, about 57 of them or so signed on, requesting the legislature to act in anticipation of possibly the Supreme Court issuing a decision like it did. And the legislature did not take action in the timely fashion that it should have. And so now we're here. She tried to avoid this train wreck, and so she's now stuck with a decision. Do I resign as an elected official when the people want me there in Rowan County, where I've been doing a good job, or do I sacrifice my conscience? She's not going to resign. She can't sacrifice her conscience, so she's willing, as Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. wrote in a letter from the Birmingham jail, to pay the consequences of that decision, and that's why she's here, although she shouldn't be. There are easy ways to resolve this.
Mr. Staver, you mentioned that you don't know how long she's going to be in jail.
I don't.
Is it safe to say she's going to be here through Tuesday?
Yes.
Why do you say that?
Well, because the Judge Bunning said that he was going to bring her here and keep her here for a week, and then he would bring her back and reassess whether she has changed her mind or whatever, change of circumstances. But Kim Davis can't violate her conscience, so she's definitely going to be here through Tuesday.
To be clear, through Tuesday, you're expecting her to be here through late next week?
Yes, well, at least through Tuesday. He said a week, and then bring her back to reassess whether he wants to keep her here longer or what the next move is.
You mentioned possible other outlets for habeas corpus? Is that state level?
Yes.
Okay. So filing with Rowan Circuit Court then?
We don't know which one. We're looking at different options. There are multiple options that we have available for us, and we haven't made a final decision, but we will be doing that very soon.
Would it be a reasonable, acceptable accommodation if her name was taken off of the licenses?
It would be a reasonable, acceptable accommodation if her name and her title as the authority, as the issuing clerk, would be taken off the licenses. Right now, the licenses are issued under the authority of the clerk, which is whether her physical, it's issued under the name of the authority of the clerk. It's Kim Davis. So sometimes her name would be on there, but it's always under her authority. So you have the form, which the governor's office already previously provided, by the way.
Looks like our satellite's having some technical difficulties here. Give us a second. There we go.
Now, if you said that this is issued under the authority of the President of the United States, who would you think that would be? President Barack Obama. You know that's President Barack Obama. He's the president. So if you look at, if it's issued under the authority of the clerk of the court for Rowan County, you know who that is, or certainly can find out who that is, and that's Kim Davis.
Mr. Staver, when did you start seeking accommodation or offer compromises? Did it
made those requests. Then she got sued when she stopped all licenses. The very first day we went to court, which, by the way, Judge Bunning set a hearing within a week of the filing of the complaint, and she had never even been served. I'd never seen that in my life in 20, almost 30 years of litigation. We appeared by special appearance, and at that moment in time, we also made that argument from the very first moment, some of the first words out of our mouth during that day, and from there on out, and every pleading and every piece of paper we've presented has made that argument.
Well, wouldn't it tell you then, since he has heard that argument over and over again, that he finds that insufficient?
Well, that's why God invented appellate courts. He's not the last word.
Can you confirm whether Ms. Davis sought your counsel or you solicited your services to her after the filing?
I don't know. I mean, Liberty Counsel has been in existence since 1989. We have multiple offices and multiple attorneys and hundreds of affiliate attorneys like AC Donahue here in Kentucky is one of those examples. And people contact us from lots of different sources. And we evaluate each claim. We don't take each one. We look at the merits of each claim, and if it has merit and there's a constitutional claim or defense, we make a decision to take it or not.
Can you tell us her accommodations in there? Is she, in a cell by herself?
Yeah.
With somebody else?
She's in cell 151. We've got to visit her in a holding cell for a visitation for attorneys, but she is in isolation in a cell by herself in cell 151.
Does she have a Bible?
Yes, she does, and she actually has already been doing Bible studies while she's here with herself. She's reading the Bible and going through the scriptures.
Has she had a chance to be with other members of the jail population?
I don't know whether she has, other than the people that are the guards there. She's only been here since yesterday afternoon, so she's only had one night here.
I know in Rowan County she is ministered to the prison population, the jail population there.
Yeah, she did a weekly Bible study for women in Rowan County Jail. She never envisioned herself on the other side wearing a jumpsuit, but here she is.
Has she done that here?
Has she done a Bible study? No, she hasn't done a Bible study here. She hasn't. It's in Rowan County where she does the women's Bible study on Monday night. So.
Would you mind giving an idea of how the legal community has accepted this judge's verdict?
Well, I think there's different opinions on it. I think that I got a request from a professor that does a very influential blog, and he's very sympathetic toward our arguments and our case. So it depends upon which one. Some people are ideologically driven. Some people are more looking at it whether they agree or disagree with the outcome, and they're looking at the legal merits of it. So, it just depends.
If he might have had a predetermined outcome, where does his conscience fit into all of this?
I can't, I won't comment about that. I just know that he read from a written opinion that was done before he got there, or written notes that was done before he got there, and that the jailer for this detention facility was already on site before the hearing began. So you draw the rest of the conclusion. Anybody else here want to address anything?
I just want to say one thing and confirm what Matt has already said. Kim is a victim here. She's a victim of her own choice, but she has not done anything to have herself incarcerated. It's what the governor has not done. And the Kentucky law is very clear. Matt went over it. But it's very clear that when you infringe someone's religious freedom, you have to prove, and the word is prove, two things. That you have a compelling interest, and we can stipulate that. He wants to get the marriage licenses out. But that he's used the least restrictive means in doing that. And you know, because you've covered the story, the governor has not lifted a finger to help the clerks. What he's told them is do your job or quit. And another time he said, we'll let the courts and the clerks work it out, which means he allowed her to be sued professionally and personally by the ACLU to punish her for her convictions. That's just wrong. The governor can fix it now, and all of this commotion should be laid at his feet. I remind you, he vetoed that law in 2013, and it was passed over his veto. So not only did he veto it, he's ignoring it now. He is not above the law. He's the one that should be investigated as to whether he's following the law.
Will you file suit, or will the foundation file suit to void these licenses?
The Family Foundation is not in that at all. When we took off to support marriage with the Constitutional Marriage Protection Amendment, we believe that every child need to have the opportunity for a mother and a father. We still believe that. But the court has spoken, so we have no interest in depriving somebody of anything. We are firmly standing on the fact that this implied right from the Constitution of same-sex marriage should not override an expressed right for religious freedom.
So does the Family Foundation then see these licenses as valid?
That's not in our purview. We're a policy organization, and we try to advise the government, whether it be the governor or legislators, as what's good policy. We can't override the Supreme Court, and we're not a judicial or a legal firm. Any other questions? Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. And I think I don't want to keep you out here any longer in the hot sun. And sorry that we got started a little bit late. Our time with Kim went a little bit longer than we thought, but it was a great meeting with her. And again, I'll just end with this. She ended our conversation as she began her conversation. All is well, and I have no doubt that Kim will rest well tonight, even though she won't be with her family for this Labor Day weekend. Kim Davis slept well.
And so that is the conclusion of the Kim Davis press conference. We've got some storms moving into the valley. You're looking at Skyfox right now. And I see strong storms developing south of the Phoenix area. The valley could be the West Valley could be the first to be hit with monsoon activity this afternoon. So let's take a look at these Skyfox visuals. As we gear up for our 5 p.m. broadcast starring Troy Hayden and Carrie Lake.
One thing that Kim Davis will never do is
Now, we know that some strong thunderstorms are developing near Gila Bend. They are going to intensify and move north. You've seen over the last few days that sometimes these storms are capable of producing wind gusts up to 45 miles per hour. But I am anticipating, personally, I'm anticipating a crazy weather night during the 6:30 to 9 p.m. broadcast of Fox 10 News Now. So we're kind of taking a look at some of this weather. You can see the rain developing in the Phoenix metro area. So we're anticipating a lot more of that. It is 5 o'clock, though. Dave Muncie's headed on the screen any minute now on Fox 10 local. If you're local, you can turn on Channel 10 and watch our 5 p.m. broadcast. If you're not local, you can go to fox10phoenix.com and watch our local television news broadcast from wherever you are. You're so lucky. Follow us on Twitter, like us on Facebook, and you should download our app because it's free. And it's going to give you the latest on crime in the valley, weather in the valley, and it's going to give you our latest videos, which is exciting, and it's your way to stay connected to us. So I'm going to go ahead and let you go and gear up for the 6:30 show. I can't wait to see you then. Kayleen said she might stop by after 8, so we look forward to Kayleen's cameo during the 6:30 to 9 broadcast. But thank you so much for spending your afternoon with Fox 10 News Now. We will see you again at 6:30. And yes, Leah, we will be on Monday.